may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good afternoon and welcome to WildEarth on your very own live safari through the African bush. We have found some elephant bulls for you. And my name is Amy, and behind the camera today we have Kat. We also have Tristan and Tessa out this afternoon, bumbling around and looking for leopard. We are following up on the Birmingham Pride. Hopefully we'll be able to find them this afternoon in a place that has some signal, so we're going to be heading towards that area. Just remember that if you are under the age of 18 and have any questions, please just pop us an email at kidsquestions@wildearth.tv. Otherwise, register on the WildEarth website and you can head over there and submit your questions. The other elephant looks like he may be coming from the right now. And may even cross the road. Wow, look at those tusks. Enzo, if you're watching, I think we need to get our elephant toothbrush out for this elephant again. He's got some dirty tusks. Oh, and look at his front left leg. It looks like he has a bit of a tumor or some sort of growth there. Very interesting. But these two look like quite old elephant bulls just by the little tears in the ears, and they're quite mature, the length of their tusks. Looking quite subdued this afternoon, enjoying a little stroll through the veld, feeding on the way. It is quite warm here at andBeyond in Ngala this afternoon. Very different from this morning. Definitely no need to get out my 3 jackets. All right, well, we are going to leave these elephant bulls to carry on feeding and walking, perhaps even making their way to find some water this afternoon. And let's have a look at your weather for your different locations.
Good afternoon and welcome to Djuma Private Game Reserve in the Sabi Sands. I am on a little bumble having a look for some leopards, and it is incredibly hot today. Now it's 26 degrees Celsius here. My name is Tessa. I'm going to be your guide on safari here this afternoon. Behind the camera we have Morgan. And yeah, at the moment we are driving from shade patch to shade patch looking for some life. It's definitely a lot hotter here than it was this morning. In fact, it actually became overcast during the morning. And when that burnt off, we were in for quite a surprise. It is incredibly hot, but I'm very happy to be able to wear short sleeves. That's exciting. I forgot I had arms underneath there with all the layers. And this afternoon I'm actually starting off going to Treehouse Dam to have a look if there's any life there. I think there's a good chance there might be some elephants around the waterholes this afternoon. But my main goal is, as the afternoon goes on, I'll be looking for leopard tracks, and hopefully I'll be able to find you a spotted cat. Thank you so much. I really like my shirt too. It's one of my favorites, that's for sure. Nice and light too, so the wind is going through it quite beautifully, which I'm very happy about. Alright, while I carry on down towards Treehouse Dam, I'm going to send you over to Tristan, who is very keen to say hello for the afternoon.
Well, Tess certainly does have a vibey shirt on this afternoon. Very lively and jungly, I would probably say. Anyway, I don't. I have a very plain shirt on today. My name is Tristan. On camera I've got him Paul, and it is a very warm welcome to all of you. Hopefully you are prepped and ready for a good afternoon with us. We're going to try and explore a little bit. This morning I got a message at about opposite 11 this morning that Thandi and Kuchava were busy having a standoff inside Torchwood, and that the guys said that Thandi started to move away and Kuchava just stayed, but they didn't see where Thandi went or if she just lay down. But they sent me the area where it was. I doubt there's both still going to be there, but it's worth a shot just to go and see if there's anything around. It'd be nice to catch up with Kuchava and Thandi, or either one. So I think that's where we're going to head. We'll just check that southern boundary with Chipper first before we go into Torchwood, just to see if neither of them crossed back. Reeps last night went into Torchwood too, so there should be a few of them milling about there. And so I'm going to try and see if we can't get lucky and pick up one of the spotty cats that side. It'd be nice to see Kuchava. It's been a long time, I think, since we've had her on the show. When was the last time we actually had her? I'm not even sure. But yeah, she theoretically still has a cub. I haven't heard any updates on it in the last few days, but I don't think she'll have brought the cub that side unless she already had and then bumped into Thandi. It's possible, but normally what happens with her is she keeps her cubs more the Annette Cheetah Plains side or Jackie's Cheetah Plains side, and then she comes north into Torchwood for hunting and just to keep territory going. I don't know if she will have brought the cub that side, but let's go and you never know, maybe we can pick up some tracks there or kind of try and decode the puzzle a little bit, just figure out who's where and what's going on. Just going to check twin dams first, because it's warm and water is always a good thing in the warmth. Although I find a lot of the animals are not drinking at this time yet. It's still too hot at this time of the day. They're still just sitting in the shade. Move to the water a little bit later on. Seems like it's very quiet at Twin Dams. No sign of anything here that I can see. I always like to just check very carefully along here. You've got two very big jackalberries that could easily house owls, leopards, triagamas, birds of various descriptions, monitor lizards. So I always just like to come slowly along this little section. And then on the other side, there's two shady spots there. And while lately we haven't really seen a lot of leopard activity at this dam, when they are here, they like those two corners there, right on the far side of the dam. They lie up in the shade there under the quarries. So always good just to check there, make sure that you're not missing anything. And you come along this riverbed. So see some, thought I saw something in the riverbed. Just a log. There's like a little log on the edge of the grass there. It's just sticking in the shade of a riverbed. Almost looks like the head of a leopard, but definitely not. It's just a log. Alright, so seemingly all quiet here this afternoon. Twin Dams has actually been very quiet of late. I'm surprised. You don't see dark main lying up here much. You don't see even the Nkuhumas coming here. They used to love coming to these dams. So it surprises me that we're not seeing a lot of activity here, given that it is quite dry. Maybe the water quality is just not up to scratch, or just no animals that like to actually just spend time and lie here. I suppose it is on the fringes of a number of the leopard territories, so it's not core territory for Kalamba or Tandi or Sibui, so better that they don't stay here. Anyway, I'll just have a little quick look around the dam, make sure we're not missing anything. You can hear a couple lapwings flying around and common sandpiper as well. Otherwise, fairly quiet. Okay, little common sandpiper. Alright, let's carry on. Let's go and see what else is lurking around. We'll start heading a little bit further east and see if we can catch up with those cats.
Welcome back to my bumble to the dam. I'm almost there. And so far, because it is quite hot, there have been a few birds out here and there, and one duiker that, as soon as I stopped, ran away. I think it's actually going to get quite a bit hotter before it gets cooler a little bit later. So I'm hoping that is the driving force to bring animals down to the waterhole. Nothing like a swim and a nice cold drink on a hot day. And I actually was thinking about it this morning. I haven't seen any buffaloes up close in a while, so maybe I'll get lucky and find a buffalo bull or a herd of buffalo somewhere. So because it is so hot, I'm actually focusing mostly on looking in the shade under the trees more than anything. But it's actually also a really, really good idea to check in the trees themselves, because it's a great time for leopards to be lying across branches. So actually, if you have a look at this marula in front of me, so it doesn't have any leaves yet, but you can imagine with the breeze blowing, you can actually see the branches right at the top moving. That would be the perfect place for a leopard to be lying right now. So I'm definitely going to keep looking for more leopards up in the trees. I'm going to keep looking in the shade of the bushes and keep bumbling my way down towards Treehouse Dam. But in the meantime, let's send you over to Mike at Eco Training Pridelands to say good afternoon.
An extremely warm 25 degrees today. And because it's so warm, we are planning on heading towards a waterhole. Hi everyone, my name's Mike Anderson. BK is behind the camera, and this is Eco Training's Pridelands Conservancy, where we've come close to Leopard Dam on reports that there were tracks of a lioness coming into this area. So what we're going to be doing this afternoon, I think I said this morning twice potentially, what we're going to be doing this afternoon is heading on some of these game paths towards Leopard Dam wall, just over there. to see if we can find tracks of this lioness. It's a single lioness, it could be Lagatha, and we're going to try and see if we can follow them a little bit and find out where she is. Now remember, we haven't seen Lagatha for quite some time, so we do have to be aware that she could be looking for a place to den. She's been seen, or tracks of her have been seen with a male lion, so it could be that she's looking for a place to den nearby with youngsters. So as we walk, it's a very dry time of year, so it's not so closed. But as we walk, we have to be very quiet, we have to be very careful, so we can listen to what's around us as we move along these game paths towards the dam. She'll be extremely well camouflaged. With her tawny colour, will be matching with this grass perfectly. And now, in all likeliness, she would see and hear us way before we saw her. So it's very likely that we'll just hear a rustle of movement and she would have moved off. But in many ways, that's about as good as a lion encounter as you're likely to get, to be honest. Whenever we come to a patch of ground like this, which is very sandy, a clear game path, we always look for any fresh tracks. Now, there's no lion tracks here, but what we'll do is we'll send you off to one of the other live locations, and while we look for new tracks, if we find some, we'll definitely let you know.
As WildEarth has shown, a guide is critical to your enjoyment when on safari. Safari Guide of the Year is an annual event which creates awareness for these men and women who dedicate their lives to tourism and wildlife. WildEarth fully supports this initiative that gives more credit to a profession that drives our economy and flies South African flags higher than most. In the lead up to our live award ceremony, where the Safari Guide of the Year 2021 will be crowned, we are inviting all our viewers to join us for a special fireside chat. Open to everyone, this unique event invites some of the top guides in the country to Djuma on the 26th of September, straight after the Sunset Safari.
Civilized to just found some black rhino tracks, a mother with a calf. The calf tracks are so small. They're somewhere here in this area, but it's too dense to walk this way. So we're going to walk around where it's not so dense. Let's hope we get lucky.
And sometimes you often drag their feet forward and deposit the scent mark, which is that what they use to patrol their territory.
We managed to get a glimpse of the black rhino, but for safety reasons, of course, we held back and we walked a different way, but it was such a fantastic experience. We didn't just focus on the big things, because it's not all about the big things. We focused on army ants and lots of dung. Civilized did an incredible job, but it's up to the judges now.
Something very, very interesting. I didn't plan this, but this is a scene, rarely seen. This is what we call a journey of giraffe. So beautiful.
Tune into WildEarth every single day. It's in your nature.
Well, we've managed to find at least our first animal for the afternoon in the form of a very tall giraffe. It's quite easy just having a little feed on the edge of Gari Main. Pretty sure it's kind of been feeding on the firebreak area, as we've been talking about quite a lot over the last few days. A number of animals have been congregating on these firebreaks, particularly these as browsing animals, as green leaves are flushing after a few little bits of rain, and the fire burnt area has a lot of nutrient-rich vegetation that they can eat, and so they kind of hang around there and feed. And I'm sure this guy is eventually going to make his way and down towards Chitwa Dam. The dam is basically down that slope where it's facing. It's looking quite intently to the left. I wonder, I saw a kudu just now, so maybe it's just a kudu that's moving around in that area. Also walking very slowly, isn't it? Looks as though it's having a very chilled Sunday, this little giraffe. I'm going to just try to go forward a little bit. Just give me 2 seconds, Nicole. Otherwise, you've got a branch right in the way of its face, which is not great. So that should be a lot better. Here, Rusty's fan belt starting again, which does not amuse me in the slightest. We'll have to take a look at that and make sure we get that sorted out. I don't need a squeaky fan belt. There's nothing worse than when a car makes a lot of squeaky noises, especially when you know, trying to minimize your noise around animals. It always feels like it disturbs them. Is it just me or is this giraffe walking very gingerly? It also doesn't want to be in the open for some sort. Every time we move, kind of stops behind some sort of vegetation. I hate to tell you, buddy, but we can still see you. Behind said tree. You are not camouflaging very well at all behind there. It's not enough leaves for them to blend in. Like I say, maybe it's just a slow Sunday stroll in the afternoon. Who am I to judge? All right, Giraffe, I'll leave you there. You're going to disappear down through the thickets. So we'll carry on and see what else is lurking for us. Just getting onto the southern boundary of Torchwood now. So let's see, maybe we get lucky and we're able to find tracks for Kachava or Tandi or Marips. This is the right area that we're in now to pick them up. So I just want to take it nice and slow. The only problem with this road is that it is very well used, and particularly on a Sunday, so Fridays and Sundays, I find this road gets used a lot. And that's because at the moment, given the way the world is and the restrictions on travel and things like that, it's still a lot of South Africans that are coming in and out, and they generally come out for the weekends. So they come in on a Friday afternoon and then leave on Sunday mornings. So I find this road is a lot busier on those days, and trucks then get squashed and kind of beaten up a little bit. So we'll just have to check super carefully. And what we're looking for is not straight down the road, unless it's incredibly fresh, and even in this light, you're not going to see something on this hardened section. What you're looking for is on the right side or the left side of the road. You'll notice that there might be a little bit of softer soil. So if I just go to the right here, and you can check here, you see there's this like soft substrate. On that soft substrate there is where you're going to find all kinds of different tracks, and if there's any fresh tracks, you're going to see them there, not on the main part. And so even if cars have driven in the last 2 hours or hour, we can still be able to pick up if an animal is crossed on that softer stuff. So that's why we always look on the edges of the road rather than down the middle of the road. All right, talking about tracking, one of the best things about being at Pridelands is that you get an opportunity to track all kinds of interesting things, and so take a look at what you can experience if you join the Explorers program with Pridelands.
If you are a WildEarth explorer, then we are excited to announce that there is another unique prize for you to win. Sign up to be an explorer before the 16th of October 2021, and you and a friend could be heading off to an eco-training ranger experience. This 2-night opportunity offers a living and learning adventure where you will combine seeing incredible nature with gaining knowledge on how animals live in the wild. You will approach dangerous game on foot, learn how to track, do some 4x4 driving, and have an exclusive opportunity to join the WildEarth team behind the scenes on the live show. After each action-packed day, you will relax around the campfire and listen to the nighttime choir of animal sounds before you drift off to sleep. WildEarth Explorers, it's in your nature.
And it absolutely is a great opportunity to get up close to some pretty interesting situations. So do definitely sign up to be a WildEarth Explorer so you can win that prize, because then you might get to join us in finding stuff like this. So we've just come onto Leopard Dam Wall. looking for tracks of the lioness. We found blood spoor. So something was killed and probably somewhat eaten here. And when I look over here, I can see lots of dried mud just on the ground over here. And if you look further down towards the water's edge, it looks like some animal got dragged out of the water there. We were just talking about how active the hyenas are. It looks like hyenas chased something else into the mud here. It got stuck, and then they caught it, dragged it up, and opened it over here. That might be one of the reasons why this lioness has been moving into this area, because she's very strong, and if it's just one or two hyenas, she could maybe chase them off of that carcass and eat some of it. Eventually the whole clan would turn up and chase her off and steal it back, obviously, but if she's quick and sneaky enough, she might be able to get a little bit of this food. So that's quite interesting that we found this. Now, we haven't seen tracks of the lioness yet, but what we're going to do is just wait here at the dam for a short time just to see if we can hear any alarm calling or find any other signs around the dam of her. Because I've been here before and come over this dam wall and found her lying in the shade on the far end of the dam. So I don't think she's far. On a day like today, she'll be hoping to ambush prey as they come to the dam, and she'll want to come and drink herself. So wish us luck while we send you over to Amy at Ngala.
Speaking of lions, we have found the ones we were looking for. This is the Birmingham Pride, looking very relaxed here on this warm afternoon at Ngala. You can just see how heads are down. Maybe a flick of the tail every now and again. Taking it easy on a Sunday afternoon. I think it's that post-Sunday lunch nap that we all like to enjoy. Oh, the one's got its leg up. There's another one just in the thickets. Head is up, it's looking at something. Maybe it heard a bird calling. A little shake of the head. Always inquisitive, wanting to be aware of what's going on around them. Oh, these two here are now completely rolled onto their backs. Look at that one with his paw on his chest. You'd think by the way that some of these lions are lying in the sun that they were reptiles. Jordan, I did have a look with my binoculars, and right now I can see 11 lions. I am sure that there may be 2 or 3 more hidden away that we can't see right now, but just based on what I can see with my binos, I can see 11. I counted 11 lions. So it's not the whole pride that's here. I haven't seen any of the cubs, so I think they may not be here, and with their mothers. So they may be spending some time away. one's head is still up. Oh, it looks like it's just trying to catch a fly. Just flicking its tail. I'm sure there are a few flies in this heat that just wants to get rid of and make sure that it's comfortable. Clara, the biggest pride that I've seen is probably this Birmingham pride when they're all together. There's 24 lions that were all together at one point. So that is the biggest pride that I've ever seen on Ngala. But I know that in different parts of Africa that you can get prides that are bigger than that, even in South Africa. So yeah, the size of a pride varies, maybe even up to 30 lions at some stage, but then you find that somewhere along the line they need to start breaking away from each other just because they can't sustain that many lions all together, and the pride needs to split to be a more manageable size of maybe between 10 to 15 lions. I am surprised by how many of these lions are still lying in the sun. It is quite warm. It's not the hottest day ever, but usually by this stage, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, you would expect to see them moving into the shade. But I must say there is quite a nice cool breeze. Maybe that's just keeping them comfortable enough to stay lying out in the sunshine. That one has also now just lifted its head. Something's caught its attention. Oh, it's looking over. Like I said, even though they're lying here looking completely sort of out of touch with reality, just resting, maybe even completely asleep, but they are listening, and if something was to walk past that caught their attention, you would see a complete shift in their sort of body and their positioning. So I think we're going to spend a little bit more time here with these lions since we found them, and just enjoy and see maybe if one or two decide to get up and move.
Hopefully they do get up, and hopefully we are able to find this lioness. We've just come to the edge of the dam to see if we could find exactly where she might have drunk some water, but no tracks of her there, although there's been lots of animals that have come down. There's plenty of impala tracks all over, tracks of larger animals like giraffes, elephants as well. So her tracks might have been stepped on or destroyed. So we're going to go back into that drainage line and try and find a game path, because the tracks that they had were moving away from the water. So we'll just walk slowly and see if we can at least find her fresh tracks, and then from there build an idea of what she did and where she went, remembering again to walk quietly and slowly just to make sure that we don't get into any trouble. So let's just head along the edge of the water here. Watch your step over here, BK. You can see the water's edge is covered in tracks. Many animals coming now. At this time of year, it's hot and it's very dry. There's not much moisture that they're able to get from their plants that they eat, so animals need to come to water, even those that don't usually need a lot of water in their diet. Oh, but look at this. It's not just lions that like to come to water in impalas, but look, there's a bee just over there. So that little animal there is coming to the water's edge to get some of the moisture that it needs. It's not the only thing. There are plenty of other creatures. There's flies, there's ants, there's midges, there's absolutely everything. It's really active, and that's why soon we're going to start seeing lots of wading birds as our migrant birds start coming back to South Africa. We'll probably start to get lots and lots of animals coming to the water. Birds especially come to the water because of this. They've just done their long migrations from north where winter is setting in, coming down here for the extremely huge amount of insects and food.
All right, well, we have a very interesting turn of events here with the lions. 2 elephants have decided to come down the hill, and that is what those lions that we saw lift their heads and look in that direction had heard, or even seen maybe, before we had any idea that these elephants were coming. So those elephants have stopped now. You can just see how the one has put its ears out, had a little sniff, listening. They sense that something's there. I'm sure they can see the lions. And just deciding, I guess, what they're going to do, if they're going to change their plans, or if they're going to be like, we're just going to walk past, or maybe they're going to chase them out the way. The lions, other than the 2 that lifted their heads and looked that way, haven't really reacted at all, I must say. Another lion's also just lifted its head to have a look. Interesting to watch and see what's going to happen here. There's a bit of a standoff between these elephants and lions. Oh, one of the lions has gotten up. Wants to know if a pride of this size would attack these elephants. No, Karen, they wouldn't. This is a big elephant bull. I did look in the binoculars as well, and most likely if that bull was to come forward or even run at these lions, they would scatter. Not to say that that lions can't hunt elephants, but they have been recorded to do so. But elephant bull, especially a second one there as well, they would most likely run away. Not to say it isn't possible. Look, anything out here in the bush, you can never say never, but it's very unlikely that they would try and hunt that elephant. You can see by their behavior as well, these lions, they are just looking, just making sure that there's no sort of threat to them, actually. They're not really, their behavior, the way they positioning themselves, there's no interest in that of trying to attack the elephant or hunt it. It's more just seeing what the elephant's deciding to do and knowing that it's a lot bigger and a lot stronger than they are. On the left, the white Lioness has just stood up and is now looking at these lions with a little bit more interest. She is quite curious and always interested in what's going on around her. Let's just see what she does. That other elephant has moved forward to just behind the bigger one. Oh. And that lioness has sat down. This elephant is still looking very much in the direction of these lions. I think he's also trying to figure out what he should do. But we're going to sit here for a little bit longer and see what unfolds. In the meantime, head off to Tristan.
Well, while Amy sits with her lions, we have a very welcome surprise because Sabi is gracing us with her presence this afternoon. She's randomly just lying next to the main road. So we were heading east to try and follow up on Tundi and Kuchava and that little incident that they had this morning. And yeah, she was just lying very well camouflaged on the edge of the road. Nice to see her. It doesn't seem like there's any sign of a cub anywhere nearby at this stage, and she looks very relaxed. I don't see any kills or anything like that. I think she's just decided this is a nice shady spot to sleep, and so that's where she's going to sleep. I suspect we're not going to have her for much of the afternoon. I don't think we're going to have a long sighting of her, just given where she is. But what I'm hoping is if she does wake up is that she moves more north and doesn't cut south. If she goes south, then obviously we can't follow her. And the boundary from where she's lying is about 10 meters away. So it's very, very close to where, she goes. And we think at the moment, no one has let me know for sure, but there's a drainage line that runs, basically we're on the bank of the drainage line at the moment. So it runs out of Djuma and into Little Gari and then drains into the Mulawati. Now the idea is that the cub is either in this little offshoot or it's down the Mulawati a little bit. The last time she was seen with the cub was walking it towards the Mulawati riverbed in the direction of where we are. So I don't think the cub can be that far away, but I don't think it will be right where we are now. There's not really nice dense spots where we're at the moment. This area here is quite open, so I doubt that the little one is with her. If she had a carcass here, different, that little cub maybe would be coming to the carcass. But if there's no carcass, then I doubt that we'll see the little one on this side. If she went along further down this little fire break, more eastwards, then I would say possible. There's a few little den site, potential den sites, should I say, along the riverbed. So we'll see. Let's see what the afternoon brings us. It's also going to be a busy sighting, unfortunately, because it's right on the main road. So it's going to have a lot of vehicles that are going to try roll through this, which is going to make it a little tricky. It's partly why I'm hoping she pushes a little further north, because that'll just make things a lot easier from a management point of view of the sighting and the cars when they're on these main roads like this, because it's two different radio channels and two different sets of lodges of traverse. It just gets all really quite messy. So this particular road here, there's probably over 20 vehicles that can traverse on this road. So you can imagine if all of them want to come through, how quickly it can get busy, and cars want to come through, and it can get a little bit all over the place. So I'm hoping that she does move a little bit. If it's south, then it's south, and that's okay, because, like I said, more than anything, I just want her to have a chilled time and not be too stressed or feel like she's had too many cars coming through. But either way, it's exciting that we've managed to see her. She's such a kind of anomaly leopard, well, not an anomaly, that's probably the wrong word, but she's a leopard that we just don't see a lot of. She kind of in and out all the time from Djuma, so you see her tracks and then she goes, or you catch her for 5 minutes and she's gone. You never really have long sightings on Djuma itself, so to have her lying and sleeping at this stage means that hopefully we'll get at least a good hour in before the other cars start to arrive, which will be really, really good. I know a lot of you really enjoy seeing her, and she's a stunning leopardess. She's got these very unique little rosettes, small rounded rosettes that are closely packed together, and then she's got a beautiful little pink nose. So she's a cute leopard. So I'm hoping, like I say, that we'll get to spend a fair amount of time with her this afternoon. I was a bit worried just now because when we first found her, she was completely flat sleeping, and then she popped her head up and she was looking straight south. I thought she was going to just kind of go into Little Gari at any moment, but it looks as though she's just going to settle down a little bit. Hello, beautiful girl. Been a while since I've seen you. Oh, those little rosettes are so diagnostic with her. It's funny because she often gets confused with Thandi and Kalamba, and I have no idea why. They don't look anything alike, those three cats. She's very, very different build and very different shape and colour to what Thandi and Kalamba is. I think she's perked up a bit because the breeze is picking up again. It kind of dropped through the middle of the day, and now it's gotten kind of a little bit up again, and maybe that's just disturbing her slightly. I believe a lot of you are very happy to see Sabui. Yeah, I think so. I think we all are. It would be nice if she brought her cub out. That would be even better. We have had, well, not we, I know somebody from Djuma has had tracks for her and the cub actually coming on to Djuma, and then when they tracked them, she took the cub back out again. So she has brought it over, but no one's actually seen it on the Djuma side yet. So it would be really cool if she has hidden it somewhere here and she takes us to it and it's actually on the Djuma side. It would be epic, because having a leopard with a den site on your property is quite possibly seventh heaven. Well, at least in my world it is. Maybe not in others, but I absolutely love when you have little leopard cubs. They're super cute things, and watching a mom and a cub play together is always a very special look into a leopard's life. Remember that they generally are quite secretive animals, so there's very few places in this world where you get an opportunity to spend time with a leopard and its little ones at a den. Most leopards are going to be fairly reserved about bringing people towards a den site. So when you see that and you see their kind of trust in us, I think it's a very special thing. But you see, she's still facing south. She's looking into Little Gari. Don't go that way, girl. Go back to sleep. Let's have you for most of the afternoon. Come on. Be a devil and stay outside. You can see how that drainage line runs. So she's on the bank of it, and you see how it kind of undulates and then it crosses there into Little Gari. And on that side, lots of nice little den site spots as well. Thandi actually used to hide Kalamba in this drainage line quite a lot. Tamba as well. So both Tamba and Kalamba were put in here fairly regularly. And then Marief's not so much. I mean, she has been here with Marief's, but not so much of late. All right, well, we'll sit with her as long as we can. Like I say, she's on the boundary, so who knows whether or not she's going to be able to cross south or she's going to stay outside, but we'll be patient and see what she gets up to for the afternoon.
We're in the center of the reserve. It's a much more open area, so a completely different experience. It's also in the afternoon, so just a little bit hot, shall we say. We're following some lion tracks, and then we found the scat of a lion cub. So we didn't see the lions, but we decided to leave the area. It was getting a bit too dense and a bit too thick. So we've come all the way down to the water hole to have a little break, and then we're going to keep walking and see what else we can find. And TJ himself actually reminded us at the start of the walk that when you're on the vehicle, it's all about observing. But when you're on a walk, it's all about immersing yourself in nature, being part of the ecosystem. And that's exactly what happened today.
This is a battle of two great carnivores of the African wilderness. Whew. Whoa! You don't want to be under those jaws. Definitely, this round goes to the lion. Look at that. Fantastic.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
We are still here with our lions and elephants, and some action has taken place. That elephant bull has moved forward and started walking towards these lions and had a big head shake. The white male lion got up and moved over, and now we see that both these elephants are starting to move as well. Looks as though they may just make their way past these lions without worrying too much about them, but we'll carry on watching and see what happens. They're now moving quite quickly towards the left-hand side. The lions have now also just turned around and started looking. This elephant is now coming from the left, and it looks like he's going to chase them. Okay, we are going to move as well. Just looks like this elephant has also wanted us to move a little bit further away as well, so we're going to do that and turn around a little bit further on and have a look to see. There we go. He's now, I think there's some water up ahead of us at a pan, and that's where these two elephants are actually wanting to head to. So now he's making his way happily towards the water. And what we'll do as soon as he's passed by, we'll turn around again and have a look at the lions. He's just stopping to listen. There's a bit of a communication there as well with the other elephant that was following behind him. The lions have settled down again, so they are still right there. Just want to see what this elephant does. Still quite aware of everything around him, wanting to listen. The wind now as well, since he's come to the other side of the lions, is now blowing from the lions to him, so he can also smell them.
Well, Sabi's up and mobile. She's, luckily for us, heading on the fire break and not on the main road and crossing south at this stage. There was a moment there where she walked this drainage line and she was about to go in there, and I thought, oof, maybe this cub is here. But then she just sniffed there. I think she's picking up Kalumba's scent on that grass there. You see how she's sniffing now even? She's smelling around. Something's caught her nose, so I wouldn't be surprised if it's Kalamba, given where we're at. It's very, very, very possible. But she's slowly moving eastwards. The likelihood of her crossing south is pretty real. She's probably going to Chitwa is where I'd imagine she'll cross. But let's try and stay with her and see what she does. She's sniffing around everywhere, which tells me that she hasn't brought the cub this side. If she had brought the cub this side, she would know exactly what's here, what's the smell, where the scents are. She would have checked it all first before marching the cub in. So this tells me now that she's just scouting. Maybe she's thinking of bringing it this side, you never know. But there's definitely something that she's sniffing. Let me move for you, Paul, because she's behind the grass there. Just going to scent mark at some point, I'm sure. She's smelling everything. Try and get off the slope, because otherwise when we start we're going to have a problem. Oh, Jason, it's a bit of a nightmare if I'm honest with you. I've had a few den sites on a popular road, and it's really not that much fun. But basically what will happen is we have a group with all the guides, so everyone will send the messages out to each other to say, look, this is where the den is, this is the protocol behind it, this is the channel on the radio that we'll use, and then you roll it through like that. And it'll obviously depend on the size of the cubs, the female. So if it's like, let's say it was Tandi was always a little bit more careful because of her propensity to sometimes be quite snarly and feel pressured, so we would always give her a little bit more space. Karula and the likes, they got a little bit less kind of sensitivity, so it was like one vehicle could roll through the day if they were very little, or it would be, you know, one vehicle a drive if it was Tandi, for example, whatever it may be. And then you'd obviously try as much as possible to just coordinate that, but it becomes tricky because you've got so many more people that are going to access it. What I found though is the leopards invariably don't stay there long. They use it for a couple of days and then they move it off, and it's probably because the delivery trucks and all the other things that come up and down the road just disturbs them enough that they move the cubs to somewhere safer. All right, let's keep up with her. Let's see where she's going. Pretty sure she's going to march the fire break and then southwards back to her normal core area. But it'll be an interesting look into where Sabi goes, because she used to walk here quite a lot with Langa and Shasha. See, here we go, straight south. Gonna cross into Little Gowrie, unfortunately. But yeah, she used to walk here with Shasha and Langa, always the same route. Come in from this side, along this drainage to Twin Dams, back to Little Gowrie from there. So yeah, she's gonna go, I'm pretty sure, back into Little Gowrie. Unfortunately, what I'm going to try and do though quickly is just get around her so we can get her crossing the road. Because once she crosses, that's unfortunately going to be it. There should be a road right here. There's fire. Everything has been burned, so it's difficult to see. Here the track is, yeah. But I don't want to take that because we're going to cut her off. Get onto the road itself. Yeah, she's stopped now. Let's try to see if I can get a nice angle. Still see her, Paul? There, she is there. Should we go back off-road or should we... She's in the shade now. I think let's go back to where she is. Well, that's nice of her. She's just laid down now, which is good. She's just found herself a nice shady spot where she's going to rest here. Why is it all so difficult? I think from here it's going to be better. There's lots of little branches in front of her face, but that's going to be the case wherever we go. Unfortunately, we're not going to win with the branches on this fire break. There's lots of them. And where she's lying, there's no real clear view anywhere, unfortunately. Pretty leopard though. Alright, well, while we sit with her and see what she's getting up to, let's send you across to Mike, who's searching for a cat of his own.
So we are also still looking for our lioness, but whilst we haven't found her tracks yet, we have found this really cool sign, which is not something we see very, very often. What you can see mostly is this long drag mark in the middle here. And now initially you might think, is that a snake or something like that? But no, it's not. And it's not a lizard either, because a lizard makes a much sharper drag mark with its tail. This was a vervet monkey. There's one of its feet. And there's a hand over there. So the vervet monkey was walking along here, and this is the tail that was dragging as it went down towards the edge of the water to have a bit of a drink there. Now, the reason why we're struggling to find the tracks of this lioness is that our reserve maintenance team is in the process of preparing the roads for the upcoming wet season, and so they've been dragging the roads with tires in order to keep them clear of any vegetation growth in case they want to do some burning or whatever it is they need to do. And so that lioness was walking here early on the day, and they dragged the roads here at about 12 o'clock. So it means that only animals that have walked past you in the last 2 to 3 hours are what we're going to be seeing the tracks of. It helps us in one way. It means that if we do find tracks, we know they're extremely fresh from the hot time of the day when an animal's probably not going to be moving around all that much. But it does mean that anything that was moving earlier on when it was cooler, we have no evidence of it anymore. So we are just going to have to cross our fingers and hope for the best. And in the meantime, we'll just do some tracking segments. So let's take a little walk here and see if we can find any other cool tracks here by the water's edge, of anything that might have come down here whilst it was nice and warm. There's a wind blowing as well, which is also not helping us. It means that we can't hear signs of an animal close by to us if it's staying very still or if it's moving quietly. This is the monkey as it moved away, going this way. Straya, oh my goodness, which animal is the best at camouflaging? In my opinion, it's my very favorite animal, which would be a leopard. I think leopards are the ultimate stealth predator. They are designed to creep as close as possible to the prey animal that it's hunting without being seen. It just freezes still. And that animal will look directly at the leopard and still not know that it's there. I mean, myself have been standing once with a tracking partner at Ngala, actually, walking along and seen nothing and told the guests, no, I didn't even see an animal. No, I think the animal's moved off. And then my tracking partner would say, no, you didn't see it, but we passed by the leopard very close. And he didn't tell me because he knows I'll get very excited and the animal would have run off. So you can literally pass within meters of a leopard and not see it. So I think they're they're best at camouflage, but loads of animals are also good, like duiker, common duikers, or even steenbok, very good at staying still in the habitat they live. Incredible at hiding away. Lots of monkeys have been moving past here, coming to the water. Another animal that needs to go to water frequently are elephants And I believe that Amy has got some Ngala.
Well, here are these two elephant bulls that we have left those lines and come down to the small pan that I said that I thought that they were heading to, and here they are doing some serious splashing. Oh, look at that. Nice and wet with mud this afternoon. Just have a look at that trunk and how it is able to get the mud and flick it up over its body. Oh, wow, like a little mud shower. You don't need a shower head when you've got a trunk to do the job for you. This one on the right is now rubbing its trunk into the side of the bank, using its foot as well, I think, to actually break up more ground, so that ground gets wet and then it creates some nice mud for the elephant. Now, do you see what happened there? It was quite interesting. The one from the left is a lot bigger than the one on the right, and he was interested in that exact same spot where the smaller one was making some mud. And so the smaller one had to move off to make way. Oh, look at the big one now, just scratching his ear with his trunk. Oh, now his eye. So we are watch these elephants. It looks like they're done actually with their mud, and look at the sun shining on his skin with that fresh wet mud. Beautiful to see, glistening in the sunlight as they make their way off to probably start feeding now this afternoon. But what a treat to be able to watch these two elephants make their way all the way from the lions, chasing them off, coming past us, and now covering themselves with mud.
How exciting to be able to watch elephants mud bathing. It's always a treat because there's a lot of fun and splashing going on. I'm on Torchwood, driving along slowly, looking for a leopard. Driving just 10-inch line, which is great because with the heat, I should imagine the leopards will have come down here. So I did go and have a look where there were reports of some leopards earlier, but I think with the heat they've moved. So now let's try. I'm definitely quite excited to be next to this drainage line, because this drainage line has more rocks than a lot of the other drainage lines, and that's perfect. Because the leopard might be sitting in one of the crevices of the rocks, or even a rock in the shade. Pull off a ridiculous spot across the drainage line. Wish me luck.
Well, so we're still lying on the fire break. She is starting to yawn and looks very attentive. So my gut feel tells me she's not going to be down for much longer. It's not like she's flat on her side. She's looking around. I think it's because there's a lot of animals moving around this area. Things like impalas and kudu, all of them moving sort of up the slope towards Chitwa, which is fine. If she heads up towards Chitwa, obviously we can follow her, so that's okay. But interestingly enough, I just got a report from somebody saying they saw Shasha crossing into Djuma, or a young male leopard crossing into Djuma, close to the quarry. And my mind thinks that maybe, just maybe, it was her. What she likes to do is she likes to come in from that side, and then she walks the fire break the whole way along. And maybe that's how we found her, is on the fire break, because she's just kind of cruised the whole way along that fire break to where she is now. But we'll see. They said this is definitely a young male, so we'll have a look around. If she does cross and we can't follow her, then we can always go into that area and go and scratch and try to find the tracks and just confirm whether it's a male or a female that crossed over. If it's a young male, then if it's Shasha, I'm sure he'll be somewhere close to Treehouse Dam. I don't think he'll be far from there if he crossed in that direction. If he's not at Treehouse, maybe he's still going north towards Gari Dam. So we'll see how it goes. But for now, we'll enjoy his mother, because she's an absolute beautiful cat. She's getting older now. I always forget actually how old she is. I was thinking about it now. She was born in 2013. So, she's approaching 8 years old now, which is fairly old for a female leopard. And I suppose she's been successful. She's raised 2 litters. So she had Kupona first, and then Langa and Shasha. I actually wanted to ask if anybody's heard anything about Langa, because I haven't. So James Richard, I don't know, or Michael Fleetwood, you guys generally keep tabs on what's going on. So do you know if there's been any signs of Langa, or anyone's seen her? Nobody here has told me anything about her. So yeah, I don't quite know where she is. But I'm sure she's around somewhere. There's lots of females around, so it makes life difficult for these young girls and boys. Life out here in this northern Sabi Sands and eastern Sabi Sands is difficult. There's lots of competition for them, so they do distribute a little bit. We've seen it with Nzutini and a little bit, I suppose, with Kupona. She went south. She's no longer called Kupona. She's now Klebe Rock's female in Mala Mala. So it's just the way it goes. They have different names to what we do up this side. Although Sabui is actually the name that they use for her down there too. But it's interesting to see how she's slowly but surely conceding that southern sort of portion of her territory, not only from the pressure from south, but also she's had 2 girls now, so she's had to make a little bit of space for them. Remember, mother leopards often will siphon off a small piece of their territory and allow that for their daughters to take, and then their territory will slightly shift. And it's going to be very interesting to see how this all balances. We know that Sabui and Kalamba have had a few run-ins. And just now I was talking about she's sniffing around and could be Kalamba. Kalamba's got this monster territory and she just goes everywhere and marks everywhere and just thinks everything is hers. So this fire break area here is one of the routes she likes to go. So she goes into Tortured and then she bends round through the fire break down to Twin Dams and then towards Treehouse and then up to the western side of Quarantine and then kind of northwards into Buffelshoek. So that's her sort of loop that she does. But all right, it looks like she's going to cross behind us. I think she's going to go into Little Gari. So let's go around. There's a car behind us that's just joined us now, which is invariably going to happen given we're in the open on the fire break. So it wasn't expecting us to have her for ourselves this afternoon. You'll see she's going to cross just here straight in front of us. Pretty sure she's going to go straight into Little Gari, and that will be that for now. Her direction though is angling a little bit towards Chitwa, so you never know. She might keep moving towards Chitwa, but I don't think so. I think she's going to end up going straight towards Little Gari. There's a little open clearing here called 47 Open. She likes to run that way. All right, we'll try to keep up with her, try to see where she goes. In the meantime, though, let's send you to Amy, who's on the move.
So we are heading out of that area now. The signal, unfortunately, wasn't doing too well there, but we had also seen, I think, everything that those lions and the elephants had to offer us. And now we are making our way up back towards sort of the central area of Ngala. We might head a little bit east as well. Maybe go past a water hole or two. See if anything else this afternoon is looking for some water. Oh, there's some impalas up ahead. Quite a few impala here, actually. Josh, you are 7 years old and you want to know if elephants mud wallow at night time. And yes, it's definitely possible that they do mud wallow at night time. It's not as common just because it's not as hot at night. And often elephants will mud wallow like we saw to cool themselves down. Whereas at night time, it's not as warm, so there's no real need to do that. But not to say they don't. I've definitely seen elephants come down in the night time, in the evening time to drink. And sometimes they do splash themselves with mud as well. Some impala and a wildebeest as well crossing the road. Lovely little animal crossing for this afternoon. Oh, there's one starting to run. Well, we're gonna wait and watch to see if the rest of this impala herd cross the road as well. And off you go to Mike, who's on a bushwalk.
So we have a tragic story. This is a jewelbug, one of the most beautiful of the beetles that occur around here in the Lowveld, and it has been caught by a group of community web spiders, and it is no longer with us. It's just a shell. Its beautiful colors are still vibrant in this late afternoon sun, but this nest itself is not looking so great. It's still very active. However, it's been badly damaged. I don't know, it looks like maybe an elephant came along and plucked this branch off of a tree, and so the web itself, the spider has The community nests have been destroyed. There's a bit of it lying here on the ground. There's a little bit more of it over there, so it's all over. And so the capacity for it to hold the spiders is much reduced. And of course, now that it's on the ground, it's a chance for many things to go and walk on it, step on it, damage it. So it's probably never going to thrive. These spiders will have to relocate. And inside there's probably 20 or 30 spiders, maybe more, still living in there. Some of them might have died when it was damaged by the elephant. But the reason why I say it's still active is because of all this extra web material that's all around it. This very sticky outer web here is still going to be catching insects, and this would have been destroyed when the elephant moved it. So there's still some life and some activity. I'm trying to look inside there to see if I see any movement. I don't want to disturb them, especially after they've been so rudely thrown about by an elephant. It's good to see that they are still active. Oh, what is this thing? That is an interesting thing. I'm going to show it to you right now. Look at this little tube that I found in the ground. You see this? This is a leaf that has been folded by some sort of spider. Its webs are attached to me. So living inside this tube is probably a spider. Might even be something like a sack spider, which is one of the 5 spiders that we need to be aware of in southern Africa. If that spider bites you, they're very aggressive. If it bites you, you can have quite ulcerating wounds, which are not good for you. But that is such an awesome thing to find. I'm actually going to put it back where I found it, so that if its home is right here, it won't be too disturbed. Let's see what else we can find.
The Masai Mara in Kenya is an iconic wilderness filled with life. Its inspirational beauty has captivated our hearts on WildEarth for many years. While this season of the world's greatest migration has been missed, WildEarth is preparing a spectacular comeback in 2022. For the first time ever, WildEarth will be running expeditions to Kenya's Masai Mara throughout the 2022 migration season. Hosted by David Githu and Isaac Rotich, you could be a part of the team that shares the wildebeest migration with the world, live on WildEarth's daily safaris. If you're interested, then head over to our website to find out more.
We had a very exciting start to our morning this morning. Today, it's our guided sunrise safari with Mike, and we started by looking at the moon through a telescope, which was incredible. It's been a very different drive from all the other ones, very interactive.
Your pigeal gland is something the Hippos have in common.
Hi. This morning's drive with Mike was thoroughly enjoyable. He really engaged us, but we also did some birding, and I managed to add a few new birds onto my list. Overall, every single experience with all the competitors has been really incredible, but it's up to the judges now.
Looks like it's a very difficult climb because every time it tries to climb, the ground is breaking, so it slides down. But it's the only one. Look at that. That is the call of desperation with a cub. It's like, what are you doing, mommy? Oops! Oof!
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
as you can see, she's down and feeding. We've managed to keep up with her. We very generously got permission just to follow her towards Tswalu Kalahari. We're actually like not even 20 meters from the cut line now. So we're pretty much on Tswalu anyway. But luckily the guy that runs Little Gowrie said we're more than welcome just to follow her across that little diagonal cut, just so that the other guys also get a chance to see her, which was very, very kind of them. So yeah, we've managed to kind of keep up with her, which is awesome. She's busy rolling in buffalo dung and just doing what leopards do best when they find buffalo dung, is they have a really good time about rolling in it and just generally covering their scent with buffalo dung all over the place. Sometimes they even eat it and lick it and kind of squish it into their face. And I've seen certain leopards come out looking as though they've shoved their head in mud with just buffalo dung caked all over their faces and their eyebrows and the likes. And all of a sudden she's now gone to sleep. Surprising. She was on a mission. She was scent marking and doing her thing, so I'm surprised that she's not carrying on. There we go. The giraffe is going to stare at her. The giraffe that we saw earlier has also joined us with her. All right, girl. Oh, it's awesome to see her, though. She's such a pretty cat. I love her little rosettes. There's as much as like Tabangumi looks like a jaguar with his big rosettes with the spots in it, she's vastly different with her little rosettes with the kind of tightly packed together. She's very cute. See where she goes. She's going to grumble a little bit. You might see her, like her whiskers pop up a little bit and her snarling. It's because there's a dwarf mongoose that was shouting at her and making a noise, so she's just hissing at that. Alright, just try and keep up with her and see where she goes. Say hello to the guests that have joined us. Okay, squirrel. Yes, there's a leopard. You don't have to shout. Everybody's all good. An idea of where we are right now. Some of you might remember when Shasha and Kalamba fought over a carcass, which is a tree to my left here. So you can see just how much overlap there can be with our females. Tandi also comes into this area. This is also Tandi's section too. All right, we'll watch her as she goes and see where she heads. In the meantime, let's send you across to Amy.
Well, we are carrying on up this road in the south of Ngala, heading up, carrying on, trying to get a little bit more into the central eastern part of the reserve. Still hoping that we're going to find an ostrich. This area, just like this morning, is our best bet at seeing one. So both Gerard and I are keeping our eyes open. But it's already starting to cool down compared to when we first headed out this afternoon. You can feel that sun isn't quite so hot anymore. Also just wanted to say a big thank you to everyone for their warm welcome and well wishes. Yesterday after my first drive, it's been absolutely wonderful and loving it so far. Actually, you want to know if elephants scent mark. And no, they don't. Not in the way that a leopard or a lion does. They don't hold territories that they need to protect. And so they don't make the effort to sort of walk a boundary of an area that they live in and leave their scent behind to let other males or females know that this is their land and sort of is where they are taking up their territory. Animals do have elephants do have a strong scent though. You can often, if a herd walks past an area fairly recently and you drive through there, you can say, smells like elephant.
Not even any idea what we're looking at. It's a bunch of leaves, but they've been fed on by a caterpillar of some sort. So you can see these leaves just look a bit old and a bit damaged and whatever. But if we move down a little bit further, over here, look at the beautiful patterns that this caterpillar or whatever it was has fed on. This leaf here. And I mean, that's not even the most what I want to call it, intricate one. Look over here. Come look down on this leaf all the way down here, BK. Check what has happened to this leaf. It looks like right down there. Look at this one. Check that out, hey? This caterpillar has absolutely demolished this leaf. It's left the veins untouched so that it could keep pulsing moisture and food and nutrients into this leaf as the caterpillar fed. Oh, what's this? On the end of this leaf, it looks like maybe a little bit of a silken cocoon there. I think the caterpillar has already pupated out of that, but it looks like it fed all the way down to the tip of the leaf, then spun itself a little cocoon where it probably pupated and then flew out as a moth or a butterfly or some other little creature. That's amazing. This is the first time I've seen something that makes these zigzag, bite marks on the leaves. And this one, I've only been seeing it now for the last, hour or so as we've walked into this part of the reserve. It must be only feeding on these, what is this, a magic guarri, Euclea divinorum. We find that oftentimes caterpillars have a larval food plant. So butterflies, they lay their eggs usually only on one type of plant, and that caterpillar will only eat from that plant unless it runs out of food, and then it will start eating other things. But it really wants to only eat one type of plant. And I always tell students, guests, viewers, nothing really eats guarris because they're hard and dry and waxy and bitter. But something obviously does like them very much, which is very unusual. I haven't seen this particular type of insect feeding sign before. And I know from when I was a kid, I remember being so wowed. Every year it seemed like there was a different type of arthropod, or different wasp or bee or beetle that just came out in abundance that didn't seem to have ever seen before. I remember one year it was these type of mud dauber wasps, these potter wasps that are black with a red or orangey abdomen. I'd never seen it before, but then all of a sudden, one year they were just absolutely everywhere. So it was really quite interesting, and I wonder if I'll get a chance to see exactly what has been making these feeding signs. Well, whilst I mull that over and maybe dig around on this plant looking for more signs of these little creatures, we'll send you over Tristan with his leopardess.
Well, my search is for little insects to look at. I'm just going to reposition because poor and Paul is having to deal with 1,000,001 blades of grass. Let's just go back a little bit. There we go. She's just come on to Chitwa now, and she's sitting on one of the prominent termite mounds that's on the top corner of Chitwa's clearing. Sorry, Paul. And that top clearing allows her from this mound to see out over the clearing. And interestingly enough, we've had multiple different generations of leopards on this particular mound. So this mound here has had, in the past, Shivinzi, Shivambalana, Tandi, Karula, Mvula, Tingana, Shasha, Langa, Mareeps, Tamba. How many more can I think of on this mound? I think that's everybody that I can remember on this particular mound. So it goes back a few years, a lot of those leopards. And Jordan. So he also used to sat on this mound once. So it's a mound that a lot of the leopards use, and it's because it's at a junction of a road. It's got a big prominent tree that's on it, a big jackalberry. So they scent mark it then onto the mound, and they can then survey the whole open clearing down towards the dam, and that allows them then to understand what's going on, and they can then try and position themselves accordingly to hunt or to whatever they want to do. You know, whatever they see out there is what's going to dictate their next move. So yeah, she looks regal up there though, doesn't she? She really is a pretty cat, is this one. I wonder where she's keeping that cub. Maybe from where we came, that drainage line. I think that's, in my mind, where that little cub will be. Yeah, and so it depends on the individuals. Some moms don't leave their cubs for as long as others. Like Tandi's always left her cubs for fairly long periods of time. So sometimes she'll leave her cubs for, 3 days, 4 days. It also depends on the size of the cub. Very little cubs require mom to come back more regularly, so almost daily, whereas as they get older they start to leave them for longer. But some mothers are pretty good at checking in most days. Other mothers, like I say, like Tandi, sometimes she'll leave her cubs once they reach sort of 5-6 months and they're able to climb. She can sometimes leave them for 4 days, 5 days sometimes. Now with Mareeps, I think the longest I've seen him without her and no sign of her coming back was like 7 or 8 days. So she can be harsh on the boys, but it gets them going pretty early. They tend to become quite self-sufficient quite quickly, but most leopardesses will check in pretty much daily, every second day at least. So what I think has happened is that she was with the cub this morning, suckled or did whatever, left the cub now, and is now off on a territorial patrol. I'm going to go and look for any sort of sign of food or anything like that she can potentially hunt. Paul, let's go back a little bit further now that car has moved. I'm just going to go forward first and then back. I don't know if that car's gonna move properly. There's a blade of grass that is kind of cutting her face, which is why I want to try and just get back a little further for him, Paul.
Welcome back. So I'm on a little bumble I had a look around Torchwood a little bit. There were actually reports of Kuchava and Tundi having an interaction there this morning, kind of 10 o'clock this morning, that kind of time. I went past and it looks like they've moved off, and I think that's because it was so hot today. So I'm actually checking, this is called Cheetah Cutline. On the right of me is Torchwood, where they were, and on the left is Djuma. So I'm actually checking the cutline at the moment for any tracks that have crossed over. I'm checking the trees, the termite mounds, just making sure that one of them didn't perhaps come this way. So I'm going to be checking very, very intensely and slowly for any signs of my spotted cats. And hopefully I get to find some for you, so wish me luck.
We're also just still walking in the bush, enjoying the scenery. I hope that you enjoy it too. Just give you an idea of what it's like to be on bushwalk. Of many animals here. You can see it's a place where animals frequently come to defecate. It's a midden, so I can see elephant dung and impala dung in here as well. So it's a highway as animals head towards the waterhole. To do a triangle type of searching. You're looking up, left to right, and you're also coming down, looking close to your feet for tracks. So it's like a triangle. You're constantly moving your eyes up and down, left and right. It takes time to perfect, and I certainly can't claim to be an expert at it, but I can spot a track and see an animal move, hopefully.
Still with Simbui, we've managed to reposition slightly, and she's still sitting ever so prettily on top of the mound. Now, a lot of you are wondering what her name means. Actually, I'm not sure what the meaning of Simbui is. It's an area inside Mala Mala. So, depending on where a leopard comes from in this area will depend on how it's named. In our area, most of the time the guys give the name based off a behavioral aspect. So, you know, Marief's not so much. Marief's was kind of place of the rock, you know, because of he spent all his time on rocks. But if you look at maybe, I'm just trying to think who Tlalamba, you know, playful was, that was kind of her demeanor. But other parts like Londolozi and Mala Mala, they name all of their cats based off area, so places that they inhabit. So that's why you'll get Sibui or you'll get Gowrie male, or you'll get Kleberox or Three Rivers or whatever it is. Those are all animals that have been seen in those places, and that's why the name is assigned based off their geographic location. So what it actually means, I'm actually not sure, but I know it was the name was given based off the area that she inhabited. It's quite a common thing, like I say, Londolozi and Mala Mala both do it that way. Other places give them kind of character names rather than, when I say character, I mean like what their character is like, so how they behave or what they do or something that's happened to them, rather than a place of origin. Nice that she came onto Chitto. She could have easily done this inside the Kalahari, and that would have been that fast. Like I said, it was lucky that she just also cut the corner and came in this way. Able to now probably spend most of the afternoon with her. Although we're still on the cut line with Little Gowrie basically, so if she takes 20 meters to the right here, or the way she's facing, then she'll cross back into Little Gowrie, and we won't follow her again there. There's only so many favors we can call in when being in this area, and like I say, they've been very, very, very kind to us, have the people of Little Gowrie over the past few months. They've allowed quite a number of sightings, particularly big high-profile sightings that have lasted a few days. They've allowed us to come in. The Hyena den that Lauren used to visit very regularly was there. So, not something we want to abuse and not something we want to take for granted. So we're thoroughly grateful, and obviously do it as sparingly as possible. In this case, it was just nobody else was with us that could go there, and so the ability to keep her for everybody else was going to be lost, and that's why we kind of were able to just keep her until the other vehicles that traverse here arrived. I think I can see an elephant. Paul, let me try and find my binoculars so that I can have a proper look, because there's, I think, an elephant on its way to just disturb her. Is it an ellie? No, it's not an elephant, it's a bush waving in the breeze. Oh no, maybe it's time to go and see an optometrist. I don't think so, actually. My eyes are still pretty sharp. I don't actually have too many issues with eyes just yet, touch wood. I've been very lucky that my eyesight has been pretty good for most of my life. I haven't had to need glasses or anything like that. See how twitchy she is when that wind gusts. I don't know if you can pick it up on the microphones, but every now and then we get these gusts of wind and it makes her all twitchy. James, no. I haven't got any recent updates on Tsemba, which makes me sad because he's an absolute beast of a leopard. I want to see him because he was just, the last time I was here, he was so big, and I'd like to see him again to see how he's developing. But he's one of those that kind of gets seen and then goes away for a few months, and then all of a sudden he pops up somewhere, where it'd be Mala Mala or here. I also think with him, because of his nature, a lot of people don't overlook him. I've seen him countless times where, let's say he's on a mound like this, he hears a car coming, he just dips off the back of the mound and then curls and lies flat, so that you can't see him. So yeah, it depends. I think he's just easily overlooked more than anything else, and I also think he gets misidentified quite regularly, particularly for Shasha. So guys here, to give you an example, when some of the guys arrived at the sighting, they were like, "Oh, Tandi." I was like, "No, guys, Tandi doesn't look like this. She's not in any way, shape or form similar to how this cat looks." So, that's the thing, is I think a lot of the reports we get of certain animals, particularly those that are less seen, like Tsemba, means that they can often be very unreliable until we see them ourselves, or there's photographic evidence with a timestamp. Then it's difficult to know exactly to figure out if it's correct or not. I love her pink nose, though. Her nose is super, super pink. I know Tandi has a bit of pink in her nose, and her sister Shadow also had the exact same. And this is a very good example for a lot of you out there that will come and say leopard's nose is darkened with age. This is an 8-year-old leopard. There's not a single bit of black on that nose. It's as pink as it gets. you would expect by the time she reaches 8, given that that is almost, well, in a lot of cases, over halfway in their life, that the nose would have started to darken. I suspect that you'll find with her, throughout her life, her nose will stay pink. It's not going to darken. It's a good indicator that they don't always get dark noses with age. It can be a genetic thing. All right, well, we watch Sabi and see what she gets up to. I'll send you across to Mike, who's busy birding.
We found a really cool bird party. There are firefinches that look like red-billed firefinches. There are blue waxbills interspersed amongst them, and then there's even one bird that's slightly larger with this sort of pale marking above its eyebrow, which could be a pin-tailed wider, non-breeding. A very interesting little collection of seed-eating birds, all of them with those short, thick bills for crunching seeds, cracking them open to get to the middle part, the nutritious part. We've been seeing their tracks all over, because if you watch these birds, they don't walk, they hop. So if you just watch one single little bird, you can see that they hop, and we keep seeing groups of tracks of hopping little birds. And now we know where they come from. So they are here specifically because when they dragged the tires along this road, it's unearthed a lot of grass seeds, and it's also knocked down a lot of seeds that were hidden on the banks of the road, or on the edges of the road. So all these birds are now having an absolute feast. This is risky for them, though. It's high risk, high reward. They get lots and lots of food very quickly, especially at a time of year when there just isn't much around. But they're also very exposed here on the middle of the road. It's very open. There could be so many birds of prey, like little sparrowhawks, goshawks, which could easily snatch them up, as well as a whole bunch of smaller ground-based predators like, I don't know, mongoose maybe, snakes, of course. Many snakes might catch them. This is really good. There's one firefinch very close to us here, BK, in the shade. Super bright red. You see it just over here in the shadow of the tree. A really beautiful red color. And you can just see, I don't know, my binoculars are not clear, but it looks like it's got pink on the bill. So that would be a red-billed firefinch male. In a full plumage, which is great. And the females you'll see every now and again hopping nearby, also with a slight pink wash to their bill, but nowhere near as colourful. Nice to see these little birds, and this is what birding is all about, spending time to actually look at birds and watch their behavior, not just simply ticking them off, but actually enjoying their movements and what they do. I think it's really fantastic. I like it.
My name is Nomfundo Ndlovu, and I'm the Senior Project Manager for the WISA Schools and Youth Unit. I'm a qualified horticulturalist. I'm particularly passionate about supporting schools towards working through their sustainability journey and towards food sovereignty through our food gardening projects. A typical day in my work involves me overseeing our national projects and creating an enabling environment for schools to thrive and succeed in working towards self-reliance and sustainability, and really ensuring that no school gets left behind.
The scrap here collected a dry grass, put it next to the water hole as the hippo walks down during the warm of the day to drink the water. When the hippo arrives, he saw quite a very nice grass, an area not to resist to rest. And when the hippo went down to drink the water, and when finished the water, They just lie down on the grass. And then, that was the opportunity of the scrappy. You know what? Today is my day to pay the revenge.
Still with Sabi, and she's still taking it easy. You can see she's got her head kind of drooping now, eyes are starting to close, so she's in that phase where leopards go into this kind of, it's this head bob phase. Lions do it too, and cheetah actually, where they try and fight the sleep, but eventually the head just gets too heavy and then they flop it down exactly like she's done now and have a good nap. I think you'll find that she's just waiting for it just to get a little bit darker more than anything else, so wait for that sun to just start to drop slightly. As it drops, what you're going to find is the impalas and various antelope that have been hanging around Chitwa Dam for the day are mostly going to be in the shady areas at the moment. It's still quite warm, even though there is a breeze that's blowing, and so most of them will be in shade. But as that sun starts to drop, they know they need to start pushing back towards the open clearing. So as they do that, it creates opportunities for her to hunt on the fringes of the open area, and as impalas push in, she can then start to go after them. And it doesn't even have to be impalas only. Things like duikers, steenbok, you'll find warthogs even to a degree. Not that she would probably hunt many warthogs. She would be after little piglets, but not the adults. So yeah, I think it's just her waiting and taking it easy. I was surprised she was walking when she was. It was hot earlier when she woke up. I expected her to rest for a little bit longer, but I'm glad that she did, because she's coming to Chitwa and it's a lot quieter here. We don't have all the passing traffic of random vehicles that are going to lodges. It's just game viewers that come here. I also can't remember the last time we had a sighting of her this long. Generally just fleeting glimpses. Sleepy kitty though. Time away from cub is time to sleep. So Carrie, chances are that she won't, but it can happen. Nothing with leopards is ever impossible. But yeah, leopards are dangerous to one another's cubs, even the females. If it maybe sees that little cub and it's already hyped up thinking that there's a rival female in her territory, it's possible. I've never seen it personally. I've never actually seen a female leopard attack a little cub. But it wouldn't shock me at all. It wouldn't surprise me. Competition is competition, and they'll try and disrupt that competition as much as possible if they can, even as females. What I find, though, a lot of the time is with females, and probably why I haven't seen it, is that females that hang around a certain area generally are in some ways related. There is obviously exceptions, so like with Thandi and Sabi, but a lot of the time Thandi Kuchava, Thandi Klalamba, there's relationships that have been had before, and normally what happens is one of them is just kind of slightly submissive, and that allows the cub time to get away and out of the area. She's waking up. She's listening to a bird that's calling. There's a little ashy flycatcher that was calling just now. Oh, Derek, the last time I personally saw Tingana, it must be about now, almost 2 months ago. It was just before I went to Kenya, so it was at the beginning of August was the last time I saw him. So yeah, but he was seen about 2 weeks ago on Mala Mala. His direction apparently was south, but I was speaking to Taylor this morning and she said that one of the trackers said that they thought they saw tracks for him. They weren't fresh, but on Torchwood, Tingana, a lot of the guys can, if the substrate's right, you can sometimes see it. He's got a claw that doesn't sheath properly, so it sticks out. And if it's soft substrate, that little claw actually makes a little dot in front of the one toe. And the tracker was saying, I think it was tracker or guide, I can't remember, was saying that they had a track with that little dot on the toe. So I don't know, I'm not 100% sure, but that was this morning that they saw that track, and they said it wasn't from today. They said it was from probably last night or yesterday. So maybe he's around. I would be so excited to see him. Like I have this feeling that the next sighting of him, if I'm lucky enough to see it, will be the last one that I'll get. Ultimately, I won't be doing any of the drives for WildEarth in front of the camera after this stint for the remainder of the year. So I don't know when I'll be back next. It'll probably only be next year sometime. But I'll be coming back for expeditions for WildEarth that we're doing at Djuma on the 28th of October until the 12th of November. But yeah, so my time in this area at the moment is not going to be huge. And that also means that I'm going to be in a situation where, with him aging and moving and becoming nomadic, the chances of seeing him are becoming smaller and smaller. So I'm kind of hoping that this stint we get a sighting of him, and it will be the kind of last one for me. And it would be nice just to have that one and that ability just to kind of say thanks for the experiences and for the time spent. I've been very fortunate with Tingana in that I've had a number of years with him. 10 years following a male leopard is a special treat, and it would be nice just to have that one last one just in case to say goodbyes, because the last time I saw him I didn't really do so. I thought maybe I'll get lucky and see him again. So unfinished business, I suppose. But yeah, let's see how we go. Hopefully he'll make an appearance. But in the meantime, let's send you across to Amy.
Well, we have some visitors to the waterhole this afternoon. Some zebras are making their way down. Well, that one's actually walked a little bit further on, but there are some more that I thought were coming to drink, but they seem to just be walking past. But still nice to see. There we go. And just see how it's looking around cautiously. It's also a little bit breezy this afternoon. And so zebras already in particular are very sensitive to what goes on around them. But you can just see how, as most animals, including zebra, come down to the water, they are a lot more cautious and wary of their surroundings, making sure there's nothing lurking in the bushes to surprise them. When an animal comes down to the water like this, they tend to be quite vulnerable out in the open, and then if they decide to drink, they're concentrating on that, head down, looking at what they're doing. And so before they do that, just like this zebra that you can see, just making sure around them that there's no surprises. But how lovely is it to see these animals here, just with the afternoon sun giving them a nice glow on this Sunday afternoon. I wonder if they are going to decide to have anything to drink or if they're just on their way to somewhere else. Monica, you want to know if zebras mud wallow. Well, if you think of those elephants we saw earlier, I haven't seen a zebra doing that. Oh, looks like it is coming towards the water. What I have seen them doing is dust bathing. So in a road or even here on an open bare patch of ground, I've seen them basically roll all the way over onto their backs and sort of wriggle around in the sand or in the dirt, and it gives them sort of a dirty color on the top, not so crisp and white as you would expect them to be, but a little bit darker. Even on these ones you can see they're a little bit brown on their backs, and that comes from dust bathing. So mud wallowing, no, I haven't seen them do that before. Not to say that they can't or don't, but it's not something that I've seen. And what I have seen is the dust bathing that they do, helping to remove any sort of parasites or ticks that may be on their bodies. But these zebra look like they decided against the drinking of water this afternoon and are making their way away from the waterhole. We do, however, still have some hippos that are in the water. And as those zebras are moving away, these hippos are going to stay here for quite a while longer until it gets a bit cooler and maybe the sun sets before they decide to head out for some grazing in the evening. But always nice to come and sit down at a waterhole at this time in the afternoon. You never know what may come down to drink or have a little bit of a splash and cool down after a nice warm day. There's an Egyptian goose there as well, just on the far side of the water. Also, I think enjoying some nice warm sunshine and cleaning itself. Well, I think we may stay here for a few more minutes just to see if anything else comes down. Otherwise, we're going to head off a little bit further east.
Well, we are doing nothing but sitting at this waterhole this afternoon, still just waiting to see what might appear. We've had some grey go-away birds alarming nearby, as well as some squirrels just making a little bit of noise. So we're wondering if maybe there isn't something on its way here, maybe a bird of prey or maybe that lioness which we've been tracking. As you can see, it's very dry at the edge of this waterhole. It's very parched. The silt that's cracking as the moisture withdraws and moves into the deeper part of the waterhole. Still plenty of water. There's nothing stopping animals from drinking here. This water should last until the next decent rain. It's only another 2 months or so until we should get some type of rain that will be bolstering this waterhole up. BK's getting very close to the edge. We're wondering if he's going to not maybe fall into that soft mud at the edge. As you can see, I'm very much taking the safe route, staying up here on the dam wall itself. I mean, we've seen now 2 different animals been chased into this waterhole by hyenas and then caught and dragged out when they get stuck in this thick mud on the eastern bank here of the waterhole. So I think it'll become a more prominent fixture as time goes on. More and more hyenas are going to be coming to the water's edge and chasing animals here, because animals have to come here every day. Actually just saw an impala, a male impala, walking the water's edge just there at the back end of the screen, but it seems to have moved off now. I wonder why it's not with the rest of its group. I'm sure it was one of the ones that came to the waterhole a little earlier. In any case, we're just going to sit and bide our time.
Well, we've repositioned slightly just to get a slightly closer and less obstructed view of Sabi. Hopefully she'll kind of turn over her shoulder a little bit and look at us. The light is absolutely beautiful on this cat at the moment. She's got that late afternoon kind of orange light that's coming down. And so it would be really nice if she stands up at some point and just gets herself out of that little bit of grass, and we'll be able to see her. She's still doing exactly what she's been doing the whole sort of time she's been on this mound, which is head up, look around, lie back down, head up, look around, lie back down. I'm pretty certain she's waiting for the various antelope that will come onto Chitwa clearing during the course of the day. She'll make then a move to whichever one it is that she wants to hunt. She doesn't look as though she's massively full, so I suspect that she will be looking for food. But it's a beautiful, beautiful termite mound and light.
Just want to finish up there, but then I'll make space.
Starting to fall asleep again. But yeah, the Tingana conundrum, it's like I said, just getting back to him, as hopefully he makes an appearance again. I think it's not just for my sake, for many other people who have watched him. You know, I think a lot of people have developed quite a fondness for him, particularly later in life. It's quite interesting. He gained quite a following in the beginning amongst the guides because he was big and he was strong and he was this beautiful leopard, and he was a bit of a challenge, and he had to work on him. And then he went through this kind of dominance phase where he gained a bit of notoriety, but nothing crazy. He was just like most other leopards. Then he went through this kind of down patch where a lot of people really didn't like him because he kind of pushed into Djuma and he chased a bulla out and killed a, Shaluva and all of that kind of stuff. And it kind of set people on this thing where they didn't enjoy Tingana, and he was the bad boy. And then as that whole relationship with Tlalamba and Hosanna and those periods, so that 2017 till now, he's only done everything to endear himself to everybody. And I think he's become a cat that a lot of people have started to really enjoy. And on top of that, his life and his age defies the average. He's on the better side of the average lifespan for a male leopard. And he, until the last time I saw him, which wasn't that long ago, I mean, it's not that many days ago, he was looking in great condition. He was strong, healthy. He didn't look as though he was just skin and bone like Mvula did when he disappeared, or died, should I say. So, I'm hopeful that he's around. Just hope that he's kind of sliding under the radar a little bit and will appear at the most random moment, and we'll get another few epic sightings of him. Be nice. One can live in a dream world. Now, earlier we were also talking about females, so I was kind of talking about leopards and mortality and all that. We were talking about females killing females' cubs. I completely forgot about, well, I didn't forget, but I didn't even think to mention the sighting of Shadulu's cub, which guys had. I personally didn't see it, but the guy saw Moya killing Shadulu's cub, so it just answers the question that females will kill cubs from time to time. Moya's actually had a few really kind of macabre cub sightings. Not only did she kill the cub for Shadulu, but one of her cubs was once killed by a male leopard, and she then ended up actually eating the cub. It was quite hectic to watch her. I mean, I know Sabi ate her cub the other day as well. But yeah, when it comes to leopards and their cubs, often once they're dead, they kind of eat it, and it's almost like closure for them. It's kind of, they know there's a finality to it. There's not going to be that cub. They don't look for it then. And ultimately, it's a nutrient value that they can take on, that they don't have to worry about trying to go and find other food somewhere else. It's still meat at the end of the day, and it still works. I'm just going to go a little bit further forward for Impor now that vehicle has left, purely based off the fact that we're still shooting a little bit of an angle. So from here, if she looks at us, it's going to be a lot better. It's a much more side-on sort of angle that we're at. There we go, just like that. That's what we were hoping for. That little glint in the eye, it's pretty. I say the light is absolutely beautiful right now. You got that little bit of kind of vegetation in the back that creates a nice soft background that she kind of stands out of, which is what you're often looking for in pictures and film, to try and, I say film, I mean in terms of filming is probably a better word, is to try and kind of have distance between your subject and the background. It creates a nice soft feel, and the animal seems to stand out of it a lot more. Oh, I could spend all day with this cat. Any spotted cat, actually. There's something incredibly peaceful about spending an afternoon with a leopard, and you know, it's one of the things about WildEarth that we're so fortunate, and a lot of you at home, I know you don't get to see the whole 3 hours with the leopard, but a lot of you get to spend a lot more time with a single individual cat in terms of its behavior and sightings and kind of time spent watching than 99.9% of guests that will ever come out into these reserves. You must understand that most people, when they come out, want to see all kinds of things, and so the ability to spend 3 hours, 4 hours with the leopard is just not there. You know, most guests want to see another lion, or they want to go and see a buffalo or an elephant or whatever it may be. So the ability, and also there's rotation of vehicles and those kinds of things. So the ability to spend as much time with spotted cats as what we get here is a very, very big privilege for not only you guys at home, but for even us as guides. There's very few places that you'll get to do what we do. And it's thanks also to you guys that you've bought into it and you've become connected to the cats that we see. And it's not just the leopards here, you know, the Birmingham Pride and the cheetah at Phinda and the various male lions there, and, you know, even the lions at pridelands and leopards. You guys buy into that, and you are happy to be patient and spend time with them. It allows us these unique looks into their lives, and I'm sure many of you that have watched WildEarth for a number of years will know just how many little lessons we've learned, how many interesting and different dynamics we've seen, and things that are written in books that they contradict completely. And you know, you think of Hosanna, you think of Marips, you think of all these cats, and how they're constantly breaking the mold of what we understand. And the only reason we get to that point of understanding is by spending as much time as we do with them. So there's a huge privilege in being able to have the confidence of the animal, to spend 4, 5, 6, sometimes even 8 hours a day with them, as opposed to, you know, them just wanting to move away. And then also to have the patience to actually watch and appreciate that this is one of the most elusive cats outside of a reserve like this, and that we get to spend this kind of quality time with them at the distance that we do is a very special thing. And it's something that I think all of us, including myself, often fall victim of not appreciating it enough. I think a lot of us just expect, you know, that we're going to find a leopard every day and we're going to see a leopard up close and it's going to be really nice, but the reality is not that way. It takes a lot of effort and a lot of time sometimes to find them, and not every day is going to provide a leopard. That's just the way life works. We have to go through days of not finding them, and I like days when I don't find them. Not at the time, but in hindsight I do, because it always makes you appreciate just how special it is to have a day like this afternoon where we've kind of started our drive, and within the first half an hour we kind of get a spotted cat, and we've now sat with it all the way until almost sunset, which is very, very cool. So we are going to have a couple other vehicles join us. I don't know what the lineup is. I haven't turned my radio on yet. I was letting the guys that were with me handle it. So now that these other vehicles are here, they'll be able to kind of deal with the radio. But I'll speak to them now to understand whether or not we need to make space. At some point we might have to. Like I say, there's a number of cars across the reserve, and Chitwa is a pretty busy place, and if there's not a lot of sightings out there at the moment, then you'll find a lot of cars will come in. Anyway, that's my deep and thoughtful monologue on leopards and viewing of them, so we'll end it there and try and get back to a bit more fact and a little bit more jovial, and see what that gives us.
It's day one of the annual South African Guide of the Year competition, and our first foot into this competition this morning is all about tracks and signs.
We're going to call you in one at a time. Just look at it, the information will be there.
Our 5 guides have been tasked by the judges at figuring out who is what is who, and where they go in the bush.
Either Franklin or guinea fowl, but because of the volume of other deposits in the area, we went with guinea fowl.
Detailing the surrounding that you need to look out for tracks. The details is very important.
I've seen something I've never seen here before. Look at these cubs. One is crossing the river. It's being washed away, unfortunately, but I'm sure the mother is going to save her. Look at that. How beautiful. Look at that. One crossing, 2 to go.
Delivering 6 hours of HD wildlife content live every day is no small feat. It's a massive team effort, and we all rely on one another. Cam ops have a bit of work to do in the morning, up nice and early, get all the checks out of the way, and make sure we're ready to go live. Helping others fall in love with nature brings meaning to what I do. It's also a lot of fun.
Welcome to Vuyatela Dam. It's been a lovely and peaceful afternoon, and I think this hippo agrees with me. Looking incredibly relaxed, just his ears sticking out of the water. So I actually came past the dam to have a look if there were any animals down here that might be drinking. I was very happy to see the hippo sticking out of the water. I think he heard me talking about him. The wind has picked up considerably again. You can see the ripples on the water. And it's getting much cooler now as well. So I'm hoping that's going to mean that animals might move around a little bit, especially the predators. Let's have a listen. You can hear there's actually quite a few insects and birds out. Of course, as I said that, the only birds that carried on calling were some Burchell starlings, but that's all right. They are incredibly beautiful.
I'm not going to zoom back in because when I do, he's going to duck.
Morgan says he's not going to zoom in on the hippo because every time he does, the hippo ducks under the water.
I said that he did it.
So it is a very beautiful temperature at the moment. It's not too hot, it's not cold. And the breeze is just enough to hopefully get some animals moving towards the dam. Morgan got him by surprise. Yes, the moments at the waterholes are wonderful. I completely agree with everybody. Nothing quite compares to sitting on the edge of a waterhole. It's one of my favorite things to do, is find a shady spot and sit and watch as animals come and go, because they'll come down at different times of the day and generally like to stick to their habits too. It's always very interesting, and the array of bird life that you would get throughout the day. It's a fantastic opportunity if you are a birder to really add to your list. In fact, today for the first time I've seen a lot of chin-spot battises, and I haven't seen those in quite a while. So I've been very excited with the birding side of things today. Toby, no, hippos won't lose their teeth like an elephant does. They have teeth that stay in, and actually it's very interesting if you compare a hippo's tusks to an elephant's tusks, because hippos actually have two sets. They've got a set coming down from the top jaw and a set coming up from the bottom jaw. They're actually a lot harder than an elephant's tusks. In fact, they're so hard that they're not worth kind of using, if that makes sense. So a lot of the time, if you look at elephant poaching, the tusks are taken for ivory, where a hippo's tusks are actually so hard that it's not useful. But no, they'll have one set of teeth, their adult teeth, and they actually mostly feed on grass, so they don't really need to go through different sets. An elephant's diet is incredibly varied. They're going to feed on things like fruits, lots of bark at the trees, and all sorts of things. So that's why they would have to grind through their teeth. You can see there's a whole family of ox peckers that's decided to land on the hippo's head. He doesn't seem very bothered. And they're doing a combination of drinking. You can see them dipping off the sides. They're also swimming. And they might even take the chance to have a look for any insects, any ticks on him, even an open wound. It's actually quite beautiful. And off they go. A very cute little stop. A pit stop in the middle of the dam. Very convenient for them that the hippo was there with his head up. It's actually very interesting. You wouldn't really think of how big a hippo would be. Leah, yes, hippos do feed every day. They will come out every night to go and feed. So they've got quite a unique digestive system. So they obviously save a lot of energy during the day, but at night they would come out of the water to feed. And the reason they do that is obviously because of their sensitivity to the sun. But their digestive system is very different to other ungulates. So ungulates are like the hoofed animals. So they're not really classified as ruminants or as hindgut fermenters. So they're kind of an in-between. And they kind of don't have to eat as much as other animals, so they won't have to eat massive quantities of grass. Because they save so much energy during the day, they've got a really efficient digestive system. They actually have a 3-chambered stomach. So basically in the foregut, so the first section of the gut, that's where the fermentation happens, and then the digestion starts going from there. Basically what they'll do is they'll come out of the water at night, they'll eat grass, and then go back in during the day, and they spend the whole day, because they're conserving energy in the water, they're efficient at digestion. They will still have to keep eating every day though. They are lucky in the sense that they don't have to keep feeding consistently like an elephant or even a rhino would. They would have to be kind of chewing most of the day. They'll be looking for food. A hippo only needs to do it at night. Also in terms of quantity compared to something like a rhino, which is a very similar size, a rhino would have to eat a lot more food in a day, probably 50 plus kilograms of food in a day, as opposed to a hippo that could probably survive on 13 to 15 kilograms in a day because they're so efficient at digestion. So those tusks are actually not for feeding. Alright, so I'm going to sit here with this brown-hooded kingfisher on its branch. I think it's perching looking for some food. And I'll catch up with you a little bit later.
If you are a WildEarth explorer, then we are excited to announce that there is another unique prize for you to win. Sign up to be an explorer before the 16th of October 2021, and you and a friend could be heading off to an eco-training ranger experience. This 2-night opportunity offers a living and learning adventure where you will combine seeing incredible nature with gaining knowledge on how animals live in the wild. You will approach dangerous game on foot, learn how to track, do some 4x4 driving, and have an exclusive opportunity to join the WildEarth team behind the scenes on the live show. After each action-packed day, you will relax around the campfire and listen to the nighttime choir of animal sounds before you drift off to sleep. WildEarth Explorers, it's in your nature.
And if you win that prize, you might just get the chance to come right to this exact dam and watch this little grebe as it makes its home here at Leopard Dam, hopefully manages to find a mate and raise a whole family of little grebes. Greblets, little greblets, what are we calling that? Chicks. It seems to be very settled on this log there, taking a little moment out of the water. It's very quiet here at Leopard Dam. We're still just waiting quietly to see if these lions are still about somewhere. We've found those lion tracks and tracks of youngsters, so at least part of the pride that we had the other day at this waterhole has come back to this area. So we're still going to sit quietly at the dam and hope that they come down. They might only come down once it's dark. But if you get to join the WildEarth Explorers and win the prize to come here, then you'll get a chance to join the students on game drives, going out in the dark, also to find animals. I'd get a chance to walk with us on some of the WildEarth walks and see how we track and find animals. It's actually one of my favorite spots of all the eco-training camps was Pridelands. Absolutely spectacular place. Now, although this little grebe is very cute, let's send you over to Tristan, who's got something a little bigger.
So we're still in the same spot, hasn't moved very much at all. Just looking around at the moment. Starting to get darker, cooler. The wind is still blowing, so not really much has actually changed. We haven't seen any animals come out onto the clearing yet. We haven't really noticed much in the way of her behavior changing. She kind of does this every now and then, pops her head up, looks around, back down again, pops her head up, looks around, back down again, which is pretty typical leopard behavior. When they're resting, this is how they are. They never rest with completely fast asleep for hours and hours on end. They're always very aware of their environment. But I think James Henry would be having an absolute meltdown right now. Those of you that don't know who James Henry is, he was a guide that used to work here. And hopefully, I'm sure we'll see him back one day. But he had a particular disdain for blades of grass and was always convinced that a blade of grass would find its way into the frame of the picture he was trying to take, and it would always be around the face of the leopard or lion or whatever it was. So this particular sighting today, I think he would be having an absolute meltdown given the one blade of grass that's kind of bent up into her eye almost. I think he would not be impressed at all by that. Hopefully she'll put her paw on it and just squash it down, and then you won't notice it as much. She's already squashed a couple of others that were fairly prominent when she first got up there. So hopefully she'll bend the rest over and we'll be able to see the grass kind of come down. There we go. She's got her head on it now, but just need that front paw to move slightly and just bend it over. The light is getting perfect now, though. Love this time of the day when you're sitting with a leopard. It's just like their whole coat and the coloration that they have becomes that much more pronounced and that much more beautiful. And you got this kind of orangey gold color that comes through. It's as good as one could get. So good times to be with her. Unfortunately, the sun will drop quite quickly. We'll probably only have, what do we know, 5:15, so we probably only got about another half an hour of actual sunlight, so maybe 25 minutes of sunlight, and then it will be down completely, and we'll have pretty dingy sort of evening light and then darkness by the time we finish up this evening, as most of you know. So we'll have to make the most of it while we can. There's a few vehicles that do want to come in, so we're trying to kind of stretch it out as much as we can, and everybody's been very accommodating. A lot of the guides that have come through are the guides that I know very well and have spent a lot of time with out here. So they've all been very happy to carry on and leave us here, which has been nice. The rub of the green has gone our way this afternoon with this cat. It could have been a 5-minute sighting where she got up and just walked straight into Kalahari, and that was the end of it. But she's kind of walked nicely. We've had decent signal. The guides have all not wanted to stay too long because they've either seen another leopard or they're looking for other things. So it's just kind of all worked in our favor to have a nice lengthy sighting of a cat that we don't see that often. And it's interesting because I was just talking to one of the guys from Arathusa, and he was telling me that they've not been seeing her very much at all. You know, she was normally the cat that they would see quite regularly around vessels, Hoffmans, Annettes, but now they say they hardly see her. They've been struggling to find her since the death of that cub. They said sightings have been few and far between, and she's not our side because we've been looking every day around Treehouse and the firebreak areas, which is where she would come into our side. So she must be hanging out in Little Gowrie, and either it's, with the cub and she's just very wary and nervous after that cub was killed, or it's, I don't know why she's not being seen as much. It's not like she's an unrelaxed cat, as you can see by this afternoon. I mean, she's walked past our car. She's pretty much done everything you could ask for when it comes to a leopard sighting. I'm intrigued to see what her movement from here will be, whether she'll go more east or if she's going to just go straight south from here. So Jordan, who's 10 years old, you're asking how long a leopard can run for before it gets tired and worn out. So Jordan, things like cheetah, lion, leopard, all the cats really, they have very, very fast running speeds, but that requires a huge amount of energy and they can't actually sustain it for long. And in leopards it's even worse than in lions and cheetah. Leopard is built for power and it's built for strength. It's not built for endurance and maintaining its speed for long periods. So a leopard running at full speed, you're probably only going to be able to run for maybe 20-30 seconds before it starts to slow down. So they're not designed to run for long periods of time. Everything about their structure and the way that they're built is fast but not long, if that makes sense. So you'll find that they come through pretty quickly and then for sort of 20-30 seconds and then they start to taper off a little bit. It's why they need to find trees pretty quickly if they're being chased by something, or prey-wise why they need to get incredibly close if they have any chance of being able to grab the prey that they're hunting. Anybody can watch it. You can subscribe to watch it. It's pretty. Alright, well, let's just sit with her a little longer and just see what she gets up to. I'm sure she's going to get moving at some point. It's just about when and whether or not we'll have the time to be able to stay. But even if we don't, we've had a magic sighting, but we'll get a little bit longer and let's see what happens while we sit here. Well, I think it's a perfect time to just sit and enjoy Sabi and the sounds of the bush once this car settles down. Cars are just trying to reposition because one just left and another one's coming in. Hopefully we're going to see a nice settled kind of cat, and like I say, you can enjoy the sounds of what's going on. So you might hear some kids in the background. That's one of the landowners that's here. And the leopards, obviously, kids are obviously learning about leopard. So asking about where the leopard is and where it's sitting. I always laugh, as some kids are very talkative when they see a leopard or see the wildlife. They want to know where it is and what's going on. And generally kids are actually quite well behaved. They quite quickly understand that they need to be fairly quiet about what they're doing. So, you don't hear them making too much noise for the most part, but every now and then they get a bit excited and you'll hear them. Fortunately, my silent moment has been ruined by the moving of vehicles and changing of positions. So it's beautiful when she pops her head up like that. Just love this light that's on her at the moment. It's like that perfect afternoon light. Alright, well, she's watching and looking again. I still don't think she's ready yet to move. I think we'll see when she starts to yawn that it's going to be time for her to go. So we'll just be patient and wait and hope that she does that fairly soon.
We have driven the eastern part of Ngala and come down to one of the dry riverbeds that runs into the big Timbavati River. And as we were driving, we spotted a bird up in the tree. A beautiful bird. Any guesses as we're going in as to what it could be? Some nice orange feet there. Very orange beak, you'll see as it lifts its head. Magnificent colors. Really stands out. And every now and again the sun sort of gets a bit of a glimpse over that orange, making it stand out even more. For those of you who said Bateleur, that is correct. So we have a Bateleur sitting up in the tree this afternoon. Very relaxed, just perched there, doing a little bit of preening. Apparently most of you said Bateleur, which is great. Well done to everyone who said that. You can just see its feathers there moving slightly in the wind. There's a gentle breeze blowing. It's actually a wonderful evening here at andBeyond in Ngala. It's the perfect temperature, not too hot, not too chilly. The wind's died down. Just have a look at those feet and those talons that are hooked onto the branch. You can just see why this is a bird of prey and how powerful those claws must be. There we go, it's just lifted its head. You can see now there's some sunlight just catching that color of the Bateleur's face, that red coming all the way from the eye down to the beak, and sort of like a sunset almost, changing from red to orange as it nears the tip of the bill, which is black. Mama H, you want to know what a Bateleur eats. Now, when it comes to Bateleurs, they can eat many different things. Not only do they hunt, but they also actually scavenge and look for carcasses or leftover pieces of meat or things like that it can find to be able to feed on. So really their diet is widely varied. Anything from meat left over from lions that have, let's say, killed a buffalo, or anything to a snake or something like a lizard, or anything really, any sort of meat that it can get its claws on. They often are actually first to find carcasses and that sort of thing that they're looking for, because even quicker than a vulture sometimes, because they're able to fly much lower to the ground. You don't see Bateleurs soaring high up on thermals like vultures do. they soar a lot lower down and are able to then spot their food quicker. And then sometimes even the vultures, when they see a Bateleur around, they use them as an indicator as to where there may be something for them to eat. But what a lovely little treat for our Sunday afternoon, just to see this Bateleur sitting in the tree here. I think we are going to carry on down this dry riverbed and head towards the Timbavati.
I have a degree in environmental planning and development. My passion is outdoor classrooms. We are not only grooming the environmentalists of tomorrow, but tomorrow's leaders as well. My long-term goal is for the people of South Africa to learn how to live sustainably and to be able to look after themselves and the environment. So I hope that through environmental education, we are able to get that message to the future generation of South Africa so that they start now and can continue that good practice in the future. Environmental education is critical so that people can live sustainably in the future. That is my long-term goal.
I think sometimes you need just to listen. So it's a kind of taking out all that other spirit and bring back wilderness and healthy. Bushwalk and trek and sign. I'm sure I'm good at that. I spend most of my time on the ground since I was a young boy, so I think I'm good with that. Actually, I'm not much nervous of any category. Just take it as it is. Yeah. I'm not 100% sure on what the judges are looking at. So chances are 50-50 on my side. I'm not... Obviously, when you go for a competition, you say you win.
You are cheeky. That was a brave decision. Amber Eyes is... Oh. That is so magic. That was absolutely wonderful. Amber Eyes just gave that cub an enormous hug.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth. Day.
Well, we're still with her, and she's just giving us this beautiful little look over her shoulder at the moment, which is going to yawn. Maybe just a little one. I think she's going to get up any minute now. I don't think we're going to see her sitting for much longer. The sun is just starting to go down now, and it just feels like she's a lot more awake than she was 10 minutes ago. Whole demeanor has changed. She's a lot more alert and looking. And if she's decided now that the sun's starting to go, it's time to start getting up and going. Donnie, so probable father of a cub. Well, this is a tough game to play, but I mean, theoretically, should be Mulawati should be the one of the contenders at least, if not the most likely. I suppose there could be a male inside Mala Mala. There's a shy male there that they keep calling Mulawati, but it's a different individual. I suppose he could be. I'm just trying to think if she mated with anybody else that I know of. That's all I can kind of think of for now, but I might be wrong. There might be others as well. But yeah, I think Mulawati would be, if I had to put money down, that's who I would guess to be. It's amazing that that one blade of grass is just still in front of her face. It's kind of legs have moved all over the place, and yet she still hasn't been able to just squash that one little blade. Almost looks like it's tickling on her forehead, but it's actually much closer to us than it looks. It's like kind of on... Is it closer, or is it between her feet? Maybe between her feet or behind her feet. I can't actually see nicely. Yeah, it's definitely between her feet, but... There we go. Isn't that a beautiful side profile of her? That little glint in her eye. Those of you that like to keep screenshots and profiles of what our leopard spot patterns are, that's as good a side profile spot pattern ID kit shot that you could possibly have. When they have their heads just slightly turned like that is exactly what you're looking for. So let's see. I'm sure she's going to go shortly. Like she's yawned 3 times already now. Well, 3.5, should we call it? Make that 4. I think she's going to get up now. South African. You know, now can cover all time zones. So it could be right now, could be just now, could be in a little bit. Now is a loose interpretation of time. It means to get away with murder. So when she can kind of stand up, and even if it's 10 minutes time or 15 minutes time, you can be like, I told you it was going to be now. It's the best part about using the phrase now. It's not in any way easy for anyone who doesn't come from South Africa to understand all of these different nows, but that's the reality of it, is that we use it in those ways. Come on, girl. Up. Let's hope she gets up now. I don't see any impalas. I haven't seen a single antelope. I'm surprised. Normally we get a lot of waterbuck that come down from where we are here and go through towards the dam, even impalas. But maybe with the pan above us here, which is called JC Brink Pan, having no water, we're not having as much movement of animals from that pan down towards the dam. Or they're all just on the other side of where she is, so we just can't see it behind us, thicker than the direction she's looking. Maybe there's a whole bunch of impalas that are coming from that way, or waterbuck or kudu or something that she's now picked up, because her head kind of swiveled pretty quickly there. No, back to looking down the slope. So, Mark, they have milk teeth when they're born, and then those get replaced by their adult teeth. So, yeah, only the 2 sets in their life. There's no third set or anything like that. It's just the baby teeth and then into the adult teeth. Oh, she is pretty. You can see she's a nice sized female as well. She's got big shoulders, does Sabi. It's, when you compare it, Kalamba is very similar in build to Sabi, but compare it to Thandi. Thandi's a lot smaller, a lot more petite. Even Kuchava, who has bulk, is not quite like Sabi. Sabi's got this big chest and neck. She has a very powerful demeanor and appearance when you see her like this. See how those ears are also working now. Starting to become a lot more in tune with what's happening. I'm so surprised the wind hasn't dropped. Normally, this time of the day, just before sunset, or as sun sets, the wind just takes a moment and it kind of drops in this area, and then it kind of picks up in the night again. But it hasn't dropped at all. It's still this little breeze that's blowing, which is not the worst thing for a leopard that's hunting. You must remember that at this time of currently we're almost at full moon. There's a big moon that you'll see above her, and that full moon means that hunting is exceedingly difficult for them at the moment. Unlike when it's new moon and it's dark, full moon provides way too much color and light for them, and so they don't have the ability to actually catch prey as easily as when it's new moon. So you'll find a bit of wind over full moon and overcast skies, and those kinds of things are always very welcomed by the predators. They like having those conditions. It really makes their life 1,000,000 times easier than when it's just dead quiet and full moon. There we go, there's your left side profile. So you've got right and left for those of you that want to keep profiles or want to have ID kits for the cats. And I mean, they're all over social media, particularly on Facebook. There's a ID kit for pretty much all of these northern cats. But if you want to keep your own, the last little bit of footage has got the perfect side profiles and front-ons that you could ask for in order to screen grab and kind of keep them for yourselves to be able to know who is who. She's going to go off the back of the mountain. All right. Well, let's see where she heads. She's probably going to head down the slope, go look for various impalas or whatever else that can potentially be around. This. All right, so we'll try and keep up with her. I just want to check with you guys to see how many other vehicles want to come into the sighting before we carry on too much. But let's see where she goes. Hopefully she'll even go for a drink for us.
Good luck, Tristan. I hope you managed to keep up with her. So I'm actually quite far north at the moment in Djuma, and I'm checking along the boundary to see if anything's coming around. And it's cooling down substantially, so I'm hoping that a predator's just around the corner. This is one of my favorite areas at the moment, purely because of all the dips and the crests. It makes for very interesting game viewing. Lots of big trees, pops of color. Quite a lot of variety as well, in trees and grasses, and animals. Apparently in rocks too. Definitely chosen the bumpiest route for Wendy today. There's actually quite a beautiful full moon out at the moment. I don't know if we can get that. Just up ahead.
What a spectacular sunset we are having here at Pridelands. There's not or hardly a breath of wind in the air. Just had a steenbok coming to the water's edge to have a drink, which is very unusual. Haven't heard any sounds or signs of that lion yet. Oh, our backup is just pointing out some beautiful big birds flying over, but they've moved behind the trees now. If they come back around, we'll try and show you. It looks like storks. Some African black storks flying in, investigating whether we might have, or they might have a place to stay here overnight. Oftentimes, storks will be flying long distances, but just stopping at small waterholes like this to have a bit of a break before continuing on the journey. Beautiful, beautiful images. So orange that sun is. A bit of haze in the sky, a bit of dust, just creating this gorgeous effect. What else might come to this waterhole tonight? As you know, once the sun goes down like this, the bushwalk must make its way back to its relative safety. But the rest of the feeds will continue, and of course the life still continues here at this waterhole. So what might happen during the night, who knows? Definitely probably come back here tomorrow at some point to investigate whether those lions did come back down to the water. Hopefully they do, and maybe, just maybe, they're successful in hunting and catch a little something. Just the goose sitting on the sandbank there, a few three-banded plovers, but otherwise all is still here. I'll send you back over to Amy, who will continue on her game drive.
Well, from the setting sun to a moon that is rising. Amazing that you can have the sun and the moon at the same time in the sky. Just see the details. Almost looks like the moon see-through with the way the grey sort of darker patches matches the color of the sky around and behind it. We are currently sitting in the Timbavati River, also enjoying the sunset on our left and the moon on the right. From here, I think what we are going to do is continue down the riverbed for a little bit longer, and then take the road on our right, which runs along, and see if there's anything that may be there for us to find this evening before it gets a bit darker. but we are going to send you off to Tess.
So I have found a little herd of elephants that look like they're slowly making their way more towards Bateleur Dam. It seems like this one is having a very good time with a bush willow. It's just about the only greenery in this section. Oh, he's actually found a small wattle to chew on now. So this is one of the kind of 12-ish year old bulls at the back of this herd. The rest of the herd, I think, have actually moved off in front of him because I can just see some stragglers in the distance. So he would be following for now. So this is often when elephants get quite active because the heat of the day is gone. It's now time for him to be able to move and feed without really worrying about having to keep cool. I hope he kind of makes a big sound with that. He's actually trying to break the branches off. It looks like he's trying to get to some of the smaller branches.
We are carrying on down the Timbavati River. Just checking in all the trees, of course, if there's anything spotted lying there, but so far no luck. Temperatures dropped as well, especially in the riverbed. I had to get out my jacket and so did Gert. We were just chatting about what a wonderful drive we've had this afternoon. Starting off with those elephant bulls right off the bat, and then making our way down to the lions. Some more elephants that came past. Then mud wallowing at the waterhole. And then heading up to the east and seeing those hippos, the Bateleur. So very nice day overall. And now as the sun is set, we are focusing on things that come out a little bit later on in the day. But as we continue bumbling here, keeping our eyes open for anything spotted this evening, head back over to Tess.
Welcome back to our little herd of elephants. So this young bull is definitely straggling behind the rest of the herd. Hello, boy. We've had some technical issues. I apologize for that. But yeah, this boy is definitely lagging behind the rest of the herd. He broke a branch off just now, and he's still got some remnants of it on his face. But he's just decided to cross the road, and then I think he realized kind of where we are. And straight back to feeding on a bush willow. Sorry, Wendy is moving a little bit. There we go. And you can see how he's actually resting his back left foot. So this is very common in especially larger elephants. When they're standing, there's a lot of weight on those 4 feet the whole day and most of the night. And so what he'll have to do is stand with 1 foot up at a time, resting it, and he'll switch over legs every now and then. And he'll do that while he's feeding. So when he finds a comfortable spot like this, and he's happy here, then you'll see he rests the 1 leg. So he's actually in the fire break at the moment. Yes, boy. He's actually got a branch stuck to one of his tusks. Yes, boy. So this is the age where he would actually get kicked out of the herd. And you can see why. He's kind of getting a bit, I would call it antsy. And so if he does this with one of the smaller calves in the herd, there could be some problems, because a young calf would get very easily injured. He's definitely enjoying the bush willow leaves, because it's about the only plants here that actually have leaves. And he's just chewing it straight off the branch with his mouth, not even using his trunk properly. He's making us work the camera on the back here, moving around. I wonder what he's smelling for on the ground. Alright, he's definitely not so happy with us today. Wonder if it's because the rest of the herd left him behind. Definitely could be. And he's decided, I don't know what I was grumpy about, I'm moving off. He's actually moving towards one of the drainage lines, so I wouldn't be surprised if he goes down there to feed on the taller trees. And then from there funnels back towards the dam, because the rest of the herd's actually moved off towards Vuyatela Dam, which is on the right-hand side of him. Probably about 300 meters from where he is. Yeah, going straight down to the drainage line. You can see he's actually walking at a bit of a slope at the moment, so when his steps quicken, it's because the slope is a little bit steeper. And on to the next branch to feed on. So he looks like he wants to break it again. He's got a very unusual habit. I haven't seen that many elephants go straight to the head of a branch with their mouth instead of their trunk. And he's done that 3 or 4 times now, where he pulls it towards his mouth and then just bites straight onto the branch instead of pulling the leaves off with his trunk and then feeding it into his mouth. But I guess it makes sense. It would use less energy, make the process quicker. I'm going to see if I can reposition for you a little. I'm actually just going to roll a little bit forward, just to see if we can get out of the branches there. No, Wendy doesn't want to roll. Not on enough of a slope. There's a nice open gap here. Thank you for being nervous for me, everybody. I appreciate it. Luckily, it is fairly easy to tell between an actual charge or anything like that and kind of just trying to show his dominance a little bit. But I'd love to hear some questions if you have any. Please pop me some questions for this young elephant bull. He is just at that age now where he's actually probably being kicked out of the herd, which probably also adds to his kind of, I don't want to call it aggression, but his behavior. You can imagine it's quite a different time for an elephant when you're moving around away from the herd. You're kind of still following behind, but you'll probably find the cows as well. With this high level of testosterone that he has, the cows would be moving him out. Noah, my scariest elephant encounter. I've got a few that pop into my head from just family holidays in the Kruger National Park, but probably one of the scariest was actually while I was training, and there were no fences around the camp, and an elephant came into camp and decided to mess with the tent that I was sleeping in a little bit. He didn't do too much damage, but it was definitely enough to have my heart racing. You can see his body language is quite different there where he's feeding. He's moved himself back into his comfort zone. And it's amazing to see the difference because he actually approached us and then kind of got close like that and then moved himself off. So he definitely knows where his comfort zone is with this high level of testosterone as a late teenager. I'm going to carry on down to the dam. Hopefully the rest of the herd is almost approaching there, and maybe I can show them to you. Hopefully they'll come down and drink.
If you are a WildEarth explorer, then we are excited to announce that there is another unique prize for you to win. Sign up to be an explorer before the 16th of October 2021, and you and a friend could be heading off to an eco-training ranger experience. This 2-night opportunity offers a living and learning adventure where you will combine seeing incredible nature with gaining knowledge on how animals live in the wild. You will approach dangerous game on foot, learn how to track, do some 4x4 driving, and have an exclusive opportunity to join the WildEarth team behind the scenes on the live show. After each action-packed day, you will relax around the campfire and listen to the nighttime choir of animal sounds before you drift off to sleep. WildEarth explorers, it's in your nature.
And I turned to Shaw and I saw that she had this panicked look on her face. Either she was afraid that something had happened or she was afraid that she was going to miss out on something. But instead of her missing out on those lions, we drove up next to them and I switched off the car so that she could hear what was going on. Now, these lions had killed a kudu, and she could hear these two cubs, both 8 months old at the time, busy pushing and shoving each other out the way to get to the best parts of the meat. And the mom was lying just to the side in the shade. Now, I'd known that before losing her sight, Sean probably knew what a lion looked like. But I really wanted her to know what this lion looked like. So for the first time in my guiding career, I started to describe to someone what a lion looked like. And I found that, I started to notice things in that lion that I'd never seen before.
Oh, it's going to be in trouble now. Oh, this is unbelievable stuff. Here comes a hippo in too. Go, Impala. There's a hippo coming in. I can't believe what we're seeing here. This is what we normally see in East Africa. It's all over. Hippo leaping at the crocodile now. Everything's gone underwater.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
Well, we've left Sabi. She was moving back towards Little Gowrie, and there was quite a few vehicles that still wanted to come, so we made some space there. Feel like we had a good solid 3 hours with, or not 3 hours, but 2.5 hours with her, so it's not too bad. So we left her be, and we've just come up towards Treehouse Dam from Chitwa side, straight along the boundary, because there was a report of Shasha crossing, so I thought I'd just come and check around Treehouse, see if there's any sign. Nothing to indicate that he crossed. I can't find a track or anything, so I don't know if it was just a miscommunication, which happens. The guys definitely saw him this morning in Hofmans, but they said he wasn't that close to the boundary. But we know with young male leopards they can walk quite a lot during the day, and there was a cool breeze blowing today, so maybe he's already passed this area and is heading up towards Gowrie Dam. For those of you that watch the dam cam, maybe it's a good thing to watch out for this evening. So from here, I'm not sure what our plan is going to be. I'm kind of thinking I'll take the road that I think he might take if he wants to go to Gowrie Dam, just check that he hasn't gone that way. If nothing there, then I'm going to head back to where I had those male and female leopard tracks this morning. Not that they were together, but there was tracks for a male and a female kind of in the northwestern quadrant, and you never know, maybe Kara or Tortoise Pan or Mulawati drops out somewhere and we get to see one of them. So that's the kind of plan I think for the rest of the evening. I just stopped here, like I say, just to have a little look, and also just to stop and listen. This time of the day, it's a good day to listen, or good time of the day to listen. Can often, and we saw with Sabi, she's up and moving now, so alarm calls, vocalizing, something like that can easily happen while you're stationary at a dam. Unfortunately the sun is gone, so we don't get the sunset, but you know, it's the way it goes. So nice and still. That wind has finally dropped now. You can see by the reflection on the water that there's very little wind. I was saying you'd love to see a leopard drinking right now. Yeah, no, it would be nice, wouldn't it? But alas, we rolled the dice and gamble, and unfortunately it didn't pay off. But it's the best time to see a leopard drinking now, especially even a wide kind of shot of a leopard drinking now at the dam like this can have a lot of beauty in it. So would be very, very, very pleasant. You never know, maybe we'll get a leopard drinking somewhere. Like I said, they like to drink at this time of the day. I find that they drink around this sort of dingy period. They can get into the edge of the dam without being seen drink and walk off. While they do drink at night, obviously, I find this time of the day is often a time where they're quite busy and looking for water, especially after a day where it's been quite warm and there's been a bit of wind that's been blowing. It's a day where they can lose a lot of moisture, so waterhole would be good. Alright, so we are going to probably leave Treehouse Dam now. We're going to go see what else we can find. In the meantime, let's send you across to Tessa. I believe she's on the move. See where she's heading to.
Welcome back. I have found myself another little part of the herd on the opposite side of the drainage line. And this is an even younger young bull, and you can see he's looking a little bit camera shy. So I'm going to see if he decides to move. So he definitely looks a little bit more relaxed than the other male. It's actually quite unusual for a young male. He's got quite a square head still. So if you weren't concentrating, you could almost mistake him for a female. And that's probably because, excuse me, I've got a frog in my throat. Probably because he's still not really big enough that he started developing all those muscles on the front. That would kind of hide that peak of the temple. And as opposed to the other elephant, which was focusing more on leaves, this young bull seems to be focusing much more on grass. So you'll see he kicks the grass with his foot to loosen it from the soil, and then he shakes it off and puts it in his mouth. So size-wise, this one is quite a lot smaller than the other male that we had. I would say this one is closer to 10 years old, where the other bull was, I would say, closer to 15. Quite a size difference. He's certainly not making it easy for Morgan.
Switching to
All right, we're also going to switch into infrared. The light is dropping very, very quickly. So, Benjamin, when a bull gets kicked out of the herd, what will happen is, if there are a few of them that are a similar age, then they will actually form like a little bachelor herd. If there aren't any others that leave at the same time as him from his herd, what will actually happen is he will then go off and find other young bulls of a similar age. And then what they'll do is they'll kind of walk around, try and find some big bulls to follow, and they basically just practice being an elephant, being an adult. So walking around feeding, picking up on information, and then only when they get to more of a sexual maturity age, so maybe 20 to 25 years old, will they then start actually competing with other bulls for mating within the herd. But that period from about 12 years old where they start getting kicked out, they've got this massive buildup of testosterone. It makes them a little bit cranky, as you saw earlier. And then they kind of get pushed out, because at that age, if you are starting to get a bit grumpy with things and you're testing your strengths and you're pushing your boundaries, there's a very high chance that one of the smaller calves in the herd is going to get injured. And so the females won't tolerate it. It's not a massive deal for elephants like it would be for other animals getting kicked out of a pride or a herd or anything like that, because elephants are pretty much self-sufficient from quite a young age. So all it would mean is if you want some company, he'd have to look for some other bulls. They can definitely more than survive on their own from this age. They don't have to be around other bulls or the herd. It's probably just an idea of, you know, not really safety in numbers, I wouldn't think, but just some company. He really is giving Morgan a challenge. You can hear a pearl-spotted owlet in the background, that high-pitched whistle. So you can hear him breaking the branches off. Let's have a listen to that. It's incredible sound. Morgan is having a very clumsy day. I apologize. All right, so while I leave this young man to finish his meal, let's have a look at Penguin Beach, our new adventure.
who doesn't love a penguin? They're pretty cute little things. Actually, today there was some pretty sad news about the penguins in that area where Penguin Beach is going to be. I don't know how many of them there were. I think it was 67. Might be mistaken. But it's somewhere up there. Quite a high number of penguins were actually found dead. 63, there we go, due to bee stings. They were apparently attacked by a whole bunch of Cape bees and unfortunately died from it, which is pretty crazy. So poor little penguins. Never nice to hear those kinds of numbers and kinds of things happen, but I suppose it's natural. I suppose bees are, when they get irate and get disturbed, they can do those kinds of things. I felt sorry for the little penguins. It's a fair number of them. Anyway, be nice to actually watch them and learn a lot more about them and see their behaviors. I think they'll have lots of personality, those little penguins, but it's going to be interesting to try and identify them in amongst one another. It's one thing doing a leopard on its own, but a whole bunch of penguins flocking together is going to be another whole situation. Right, we are just bumbling. We're just seeing where the road takes us. It's a weird kind of dingy light at the moment. You can see the lights are just starting to take effect. So like even a spotlight now is not really that useful just yet. So I'm just relying on my natural kind of light and my eyes to be able to see anything. If it's sitting and it's down and sleeping flat, we're going to struggle to see it, but if it's moving, we'll easily pick it up, or even if it's head up, we should pick it up quite well. So what I thought I'd do is, because I didn't find anything or any tracks crossing from Twin Dams to Treehouse, that direction, I thought to myself, well, why don't I head a little bit more west? So I'll come westwards up towards Zoe's Road. So if Shasha did come in, that maybe, just maybe, he's going to cut this road and head north from here. So far, no sign of him coming this way. The road, unfortunately, the tracks were completely destroyed by a whole bunch of big feet. So that's not going to have helped us. But yeah, maybe we pick him up somewhere on this side. He hasn't really ventured as far as I know. I mean, I could be wrong. I haven't spent all that much time here, but as far as I know, he hasn't ventured to this western part of the reserve yet. He's still very much staying kind of central and southern part of Djuma, and then he must have at some point gone through Torchwood to be on where he was on Buffelshoek. So what I was thinking is maybe just check here on the off chance if he's not here. So there's always a good area for Shadulu, for Kara, Mulawati, Tortoise Pan. All of those cats have been moving around a lot. There's been a lot of tracks in this area the last few days, so a good place just to scan around and check. If we're going to have any luck with Mulawati, it's going to be around this time of the day, where he feels a little bit more comfortable walking in the roads and doing his thing. So let's see what we can pull out the hat. Sophia, so she hasn't given birth. When we saw her the other day, her stomach was round but no suckle marks. So yeah, no updates since we last saw her on the kill. She hasn't been again. Last tracks were yesterday morning, going in an northeasterly direction towards Longpole in Buffelshoek, and then we bumped into some lions, and then after the way things worked and signal, I couldn't carry on with those tracks. Didn't find anything coming back to Djuma, but she should be by now Torchwood side or somewhere there if she didn't make a kill. So tomorrow I'll check Cheetah Cutline and see if I can't pick up her tracks that side. So yeah, no concrete evidence of her having cubs or anything yet. We will definitely keep you updated if we do. What was I going to say? You asked about cubs and that kind of triggered it. So I was also saying earlier, I've had no kind of update on Langa for a while now. I thought maybe, I don't know, where she had gone. The guys told me they had her this morning on Hofmann's. They said that she's looking well and healthy, and it was the first time they had seen her for a long time. So she's also around, and Michael Sava and Shadulu apparently are also fighting on Arethusa again. So let's see whether one of them pushes our side after that.
We are Still bumbling around here in Ngala. We've left the riverbed and we have made our way up to a road called Old Orphan and heading towards some clearings, some open areas on the reserve at this time of the day as it's getting nice and dark outside. It's a good chance to spot some of the nocturnal animals. So that's where we're heading at the moment. I was just thinking, I can't believe how much lighter it is now in the evenings. Just a few days ago at this time it was pitch black outside, but still a little bit of light from the sun in the sky, although not light enough to not use infrared. Oh, I think we may be going into a little bit of a dip here, so I hope the signal's okay. We're going to carry on and head up the road to these open areas, see if there's anything we can find. Welcome back. I'm now on a bumble. I've left that young bull elephant and I've taken a little turn past Bateleur Dam, but there don't seem to be any elephants there yet. So I'm going to keep going. I'm going to actually head towards quarantine, see if there might be anything up on the open clearings. So it is quite a stunning evening. The wind has dropped almost completely now. So I'm just switching off my lights for the Impala. But I think my favorite part of my day might be Morgan very clumsily trying to snatch a mosquito. He got it, but unfortunately gave me the giggle fits just now. But it was very sassily done. It was very, very quick movement. So now that we're coming into summer, a lot more of the insects are coming out. Isabella, they definitely do. Mosquitoes will bite quite a lot of the animals, because it's the same as with us. They need blood, they want blood, and animals have blood. So that's kind of the way it goes. So yeah, you can actually see, especially the things like the predators, wild dogs, things like that, will often scratch, especially on their jawline, anywhere that there's thinner skin with veins close to the surface, that's where they'll scratch. And that's often from mosquito bites. Even other insects will bite them as well. So they can definitely be quite frustrating, especially on the summer nights. It's something that unfortunately they all have to get used to.
They actually do. So predators' eyes will shine a slightly different color. They reflect a different color back from the light. I'm actually going to stop here so that you can see a bit of the colors of the sunset. I hope it shows. Oh, we're in infrared. Can't you switch over? Oh, all right, never mind. So when you're shining with the light, or when the light catches their eyes, the herbivores usually tend to have more of a greenish reflection in their eyes. The predators might often have a more orangey look in the reflection of their eyes. So it can help when you're shining the spotlight. You can kind of almost identify something from a distance. When you've been doing it for a while, you can almost pinpoint when you're driving kind of the size of the eyes, the height above the ground, closeness of the eyes together. You can kind of get a hang of what's where. Interesting. I haven't seen many herds of impalas or anything around here that might be wanting to settle in the clearing for the night. There was just one on its own. Oh, there we go, as I said that. They're actually all still busy feeding. And this is kind of the go-to spot for these impalas because it's a nice big open area that's high up. And so things like impalas, wildebeest, quite a lot of the different animals, sometimes even giraffes, will come and sleep up here on quarantine where it's nice and open. So with the infrared light, most of the eye colors reflect the same, so most of them will just be that very bright white. If you're shining with a normal light, that's where the difference in color comes in with the reflection of the eye. It can also change depending on the angle. Sometimes it looks a little bit more blue, sometimes more green, sometimes more red, sometimes more orange. Right, so I think I'm going to sit with these impalas just for a minute or two and just see what they do as they start settling down for the evening. And maybe there might be something else that comes along.
As WildEarth has shown, a guide is critical to your enjoyment when on safari. Safari Guide of the Year is an annual event which creates awareness for these men and women who dedicate their lives to tourism and wildlife. WildEarth fully supports this initiative that gives more credit to a profession that drives our economy and flies South African flags higher than most. In the lead up to our live award ceremony, where the Safari Guide of the Year 2021 will be crowned, we are inviting all our viewers to join us for a special fireside chat. Open to everyone, this unique event invites some of the top guides in the country to Djuma on the 26th of September, straight after the Sunset Safari.
Here at the Advanced Rifle Handling Challenge, which is actually lots of challenges in one to gauge the contestants' skills at different distances and different speeds. This is probably the challenge that the contestants are the most nervous about. So let's get them locked and loaded. Are now doing the Hades halt, where they have to run back and forth to a target turn, take aim, and shoot. And this simulates a chase in a real environment and gets the heart pumping and the blood pressure up. James gave us a demonstration, and the skill involved in this exercise is remarkable.
Goodness, look at its wobbly legs. Oh, I don't believe it. I can't believe we've actually seen it. Oh my goodness. Oh, careful, careful, careful. Oh no. Oh, it's okay, little one. Okay.
Expect the unexpected here on WildEarth daily.
We are still bumbling along here at Ngala. And Heather, you wanted to know what has been my highlight so far with WildEarth. Sure, that is a tricky question. Other than just being able to share the bush with all of you at home, I would have to say sightings-wise, yesterday I really enjoyed the two bird sightings we had of the martial eagle and the lilac-breasted roller that we saw along the way. And then today I think must have been my highlight with the lions and the elephants, and especially seeing the interaction, but then seeing the elephants go to splash themselves with mud afterwards, and the way that elephant was glistening from the wet mud in the sunshine. That was pretty awesome. So I don't know what's going to come next our way tomorrow, but I'm sure there are many more highlights to come. That's why I love the bush. You never know. Oh, Amelia, good question. And yes, most definitely. Just want to get my earpiece back where it belongs. So I have never seen a serval before, and I would really love to see one of the smaller cats that we get out here at Ngala, as well as a caracal. I think they are beautiful animals, and I would love to see one. They have the most beautiful eyes. I think between a caracal and a leopard, I'm not sure whose eyes I prefer more, but they both are absolutely stunning. I've also never seen a pangolin, which I love pangolins. I think they are amazing animals. And who knows, maybe in the drives to come in the future, or even on my time out in the bush, hopefully I'll be able to see those three things. But for now, I'm going to send you back over to Tess.
Welcome back to our little herd of impala. So this one is actually standing really, really beautifully, and you can see her belly. And I was just saying, it's so nice to see that most of the impala are pregnant. That beautiful round bulge on the stomach. We're definitely coming closer to lambing season, as the summer starts to break somewhere in November. Usually is when the impalas would start lambing. But I definitely agree with Amy. I think it would be absolutely incredible to see a caracal and a serval and a pangolin. I've been very, very fortunate. I have seen some pangolins. I've also had a glimpse of a caracal in the wild and a serval. But it doesn't happen often. So I really, really hope Amy gets to see one of each sometime soon. So these impalas are actually quite relaxed. This female is quite far from the rest of the herd. And that will only happen when impalas are quite relaxed, when there are no predators right here that they're aware of. So it's lovely to see her getting a little bit more food in before they settle down for the night. Alexander, no, I have not been lucky enough to see an impala giving birth. I have seen a zebra and a buffalo giving birth though, and both were absolutely incredible experiences, unlike anything else I've ever seen before. And it seems like, you know, very lucky few actually get to witness animals giving birth in the wild, so I definitely count myself amongst the lucky. I would love to see an impala giving birth though. It's quite interesting because you can almost see the contractions running down the animal's side as they're happening. You can kind of see the stomach tensing. And it seems like it takes a very, very, very long time initially. And then all of a sudden, there's just this new little baby in the world. And it's incredible how quickly they get up and start moving. It just blows my mind that within a few minutes, these animals can get up and run. Just such a miracle. But it's been an absolute pleasure having you here with us today. It's been so much fun sharing cheeky elephants and leopards and giraffes with you, and the elephants and lions as well at Ngala. Just such a special day. We really, really hope that we get to see you in the morning. Please join us for some more fantastic magic. We know that it's going to be an adventure every single day that we're out here. And it's such a pleasure for us to be able to share that with you. Whether it's something like an impala feeding at night, or a leopard walking around in the day. It really is a magical place to be, so I'm looking forward to seeing you in the morning, and I hope that everyone has a wonderful night's rest. Thank you again for joining us today.